So moved. Let's call the board the April 3rd meeting.
Okay, hello and welcome. I'd like to call to order the Lower Saucon Township Council meeting. Today's date is April 3rd, 2024. And can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Delion.
Here.
Mr. Bananas.
Here.
Ms. Alcott Rivera.
Here.
Mr. Fergie.
Here.
Ms. Ray.
Here.
All present.
Stand to pledge the flag. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda for this evening. We added an agenda item, so if I could have a second.
Second.
Okay, and would the public like to say anything? Okay, hearing none, I guess, council? Any discussion? Can we-
We're gonna amend the agenda. What are you gonna add to the agenda to amend? The public needs to know that.
Okay, we're amending the agenda to include the agenda item to appoint an acting township manager.
So what's the motion? You just, all you do is make a motion to amend the agenda, not what for.
Well, the first step in this is to amend the agenda because of an inclusion of an item that was not sent out originally.
Okay.
So I guess we're ready for roll call.
No, you haven't had comments from council on this.
Well, I'm
We didn't
waiting.
announce the executive session. D, that comes before.
I was gonna do that after I amend the
It's not the
agenda.
order on the agenda. Do we amend the agenda for the order?
I'm
It's, I
like,
know it's hard, you've only been doing it for
I know.
5 years.
It's like ABCD. She can't follow it, but it's fine.
okay, let's just get it together, everybody. We're
You start.
amending,
What do you start? Lead by
Get
example.
it
Can we do a
together.
roll call?
For what? We didn't have the announcement of the executive session. That's D, that's next, right after pledge of allegiance. On the agenda.
again, I'm gonna make a motion to amend the agenda to include an agenda item that wasn't included when the original agenda went out. I have a motion on the floor and I have a second. I opened it up to public comment. Does council wanna say anything?
You opened it to public comment before telling the public what the subject was.
And now I just did. If you would have listened, I told them.
I want to make a motion that we follow the agenda order, and the announcement of the executive session is next. May I have a second?
Okay, well, there's already a motion on the floor.
But have
so
a
you
second
can't
again.
do-
Can I have a second?
What's been said?
There already
Oh,
was.
You're out of order. The
Wasn't
motion.
seconded?
Victoria seconded.
Yes, she did.
I didn't hear her say right next to me.
No, because there hasn't been comment from council yet. It
Well,
can't be
then-
roll call.
Are you gonna make a comment?
Yes.
I don't have any comments, I'm
I do.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is ridiculous to have to amend the motion. I brought the subject up 2 meetings ago when Mark Hudson announced that he was leaving the township. And I suggested at that time that we consider, rather than hiring, what was it, Keystone Consulting or whatever they are in Harrisburg, to do a new manager search, to consider appointing Kathy Norman as the interim township manager. The majority of this council loves slapping an interim tag on people. For example, the gentleman to my right is an interim solicitor. And at that time, that recommendation or suggestion was met with complete silence. It's obvious, and you've known for a month, that the township manager was going to be leaving the township effective March 31st. We've had 2 meetings since then, and now, rather than be transparent with the public and let them know that you're actually going to finally address this issue that was the elephant in the room for a month, you instead now seek to amend the agenda under the guise of some emergency. There's no emergency to this. You knew about this and you just failed to pay attention to it. So to amend the agenda at this point, I have nothing against Kathy filling in this position. In fact, I recommended it and suggested it. I think she'd be perfectly capable of doing this. And I suggested that she take on that position and that you give it a shot to see if it works out, because maybe she will turn out to be a stellar township manager. She certainly fills in on an interim basis as the assistant. And now, instead of giving it due consideration that it deserved, you're going to change the agenda to try to shoehorn this in when you knew about it. It's ridiculous. It just shows the utter lack of competence among the three of you. It shows the lack of transparency among the three of you. You don't know what the hell you're doing.
Okay, Laura, did you have anything to say? No. Okay, I just wanna say this, we're following the sunshine law for, changing the agenda. So, yes, roll call, please, Kathy.
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis,
No.
Ms. Altough Padera,
Yes.
Mr. Caroci,
No.
Ms. Red.
Yes.
Motion
Imagine that.
passes 3-2.
Okay,
Cover
thank
up
you,
your
Kathy.
mistakes.
Incompetence.
Okay, so that's it.
Incompetence.
Meetings called to order. We're out of order.
No, I'm not.
Announcement of executive session. Council met an executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss litigation regarding Hellertown Borough, the Hellertown Area Library, the Bethlehem landfill, a real estate issue, and a personnel issue. No official action was needed at this time. So, moving on.
No, I'd like to be heard on that.
Sure. I
Can
would.
I be recognized?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Just so the public is aware of what took place in the so-called executive session. So we entered into the council meeting room, and immediately, the interim solicitor, Mr. Gutsuzian, sought to exclude the acting township manager, Kathy Borman, from those proceedings. Now, I've never been in an executive session where the township manager has not been present, other than for matters perhaps related to employment concerning the township manager or acting township manager. So even though the number of items to be covered during this executive session were not limited to personnel issues, the interim solicitor sought to exclude the manager, the interim manager, who now has been subjected to an amended agenda to be considered for that role. It just tells you the absolute incompetence of the people that are involved in the administration of this township. I find it mind-boggling that a person who is acting as a solicitor would not understand the need to have the person acting as the manager participating in the executive session, particularly when multiple subjects covered did not deal with the personnel matters related to that individual. It's mind-boggling to me. On top of that, one of the subjects that came up was a so-called conversation between the solicitor, the interim solicitor, and unnamed, unidentified representatives of Hellertown Borough regarding litigation pertaining to the Hellertown Library and other aspects dealing with the borough. And when pressed for the identity of the individual or individuals that the interim solicitor allegedly met with, he refused to provide that information to the majority of council. He would not identify with whom he was negotiating on behalf of this township, with whom he was negotiating while billing the taxpayers of this township $180 per hour. He would not identify that person. To consider that for a moment, we have a rogue interim solicitor who is out conducting business on behalf of the township. He's not a permanent solicitor because he was never identified as a permanent solicitor. He's out there negotiating on behalf of the township with individuals, and he won't even tell the members of this council, who he's talking to and what they're discussing. So we're supposed to just accept in a vacuum what he tells us and go along with what he tells us. And I pointed out to him in this conversation that he owes an obligation to the members of this council, and he owes an obligation to the members of this township to act in good faith with regard to those discussions. And in particular, Rule of Professional Conduct 1.4, that applies to all lawyers in this Commonwealth, says, a lawyer shall promptly inform the client of any decision or circumstance with respect to the client's informed consent as defined in Rule 1.0e, as required by these rules. 2, reasonably consult with the client about the means by which the client's objectives are to be accomplished. That didn't happen here. In fact, it was asked of him to share that information, and he absolutely refused to share that information. 3, keep the client reasonably informed about the status of the matter. That didn't happen here. He again refused to provide us with the identity or identities of the individuals with whom he met and with whom he was negotiating on behalf of the township using your taxpayer dollars. Okay? It goes on and on. And I'll point out to you, if you look at second class code sets forth what the duties are of a solicitor. And in the second-class code, 5-1.2, officers and employees, township solicitor talks about the solicitor being a person or firm learned in the law and an active legal practice. It goes on, and it says, the solicitor shall furnish legal advice and opinions to the council, the manager, the chairman of any committee of the council, and to all officers, departments, boards, and commissions on any matter in connection with their official powers or performance of their official duties. Consider that. Consider that. That's what he's supposed to do, and he refuses to do that. He refuses to cooperate and share information with the elected members of this council, elected by you people in the public. I think it's a travesty, and he's certainly inviting upon himself an investigation from the the ethics board, because for him to refuse to share with us who he's negotiating with, what he's discussing, it's a travesty. And if I was a taxpayer, well, I am a taxpayer, but if I was a taxpayer not here, I would be outraged at that conduct. I find it absolutely outrageous.
Now, I've been out of your reckoning. Are you done, Jason? Are you done, Jason? No.
Yeah, I'm done, thanks.
You recognize?
Yes, you may be recognized.
All right. Priscilla, do you know who Susie met with, our solicitor?
No, I do not.
So we do a right to know. This is why I like to point out, Jason files right to knows, because this is why we have to file them. The solicitor that the township's paying is hiding information from us, who he's met with. And the majority is assisting him with hiding that information. So this is why right to knows need to be filed and are filed. It's how we found out last meeting about Priscilla's recusing herself 20 years earlier for the same property that was in discussion in the conditional use hearing. She didn't bring that, she wasn't forthcoming about that, she was hiding that, and she didn't bring that to the public. We had to file the right to know, go through the documents, and find that information, and then she finally recused herself. And I believe she didn't even turn everything over. I think there were some missing documents in that. So even when we do file a right to know, she failed to turn certain communications over. I think Jason has an example of that later. That's why there are right to knows. We have a solicitor who is hiding things from us and operating covertly, and we have a majority that is assisting him with that cover-up. So there'll be more right to knows, and we'll find out who we met with eventually. And but this is that again is costing taxpayers money, because our township staff has to put the response to the right to knows together and give it to us instead of Mr. Good.
He's lining his pocket with it.
Yeah,
Right, so we gotta send a right to know, and then he gets to bill the township for dealing with the right to know for information he's not turning over in the first place.
This is how he practices law, and it's a
Churning it.
disgrace. He's turning on taxpayers' backs, all of this. All he has to do is give us a name back in executive session. He didn't even have to make it public. But he wouldn't do that, and now taxpayers will bear more costs for his nonsense and Priscilla's complicity with that nonsense.
Are you finished, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, moving on then to number F, appointment of acting township manager. I would like to move to appoint Kathy Gorman, acting manager, retroactive to 3/28/24 tonight. And with my motion, have an agenda item on April 17th agenda for this hour.
I'll second.
I'd like to be heard.
Go ahead, Jason.
I agree with this. I brought this up before. Unfortunately, it did not make the agenda when it was initially set, and now it's been amended to include this issue. The one concern that I have, and I think it's a grave concern, is that Kathy serves the role as the assistant manager and also as the finance director. And it's a position that's very important to the township, and she does a very good job in administering those duties. Now that she is going to have the added burden of taking on township manager duties, I'm concerned that it's going to put undue pressure and demands upon her that are going to potentially affect her ability to continue to do her other roles with the same effectiveness. Because of that, I know that we're going to be discussing salary later. I think that it's appropriate for her to make a salary that is greater than what we were paying the Mark Hudson when he was our township manager. And I say that because there are two distinct roles that do have some overlap, but to effectively do both roles requires a tremendous amount of time and energy. And for this council, the majority of this council, to place those burdens on her and not expect her to be paid for the services is a disservice to her and a disservice to the residents of this township. So my recommendation when we get to the point about salary on April 17th is to pay her greater than what we were paying Mark Hudson on a prorated basis because of the added responsibilities that she is taking on in addition to those existing responsibilities as the assistant manager as well as the finance director.
You finished?
I am.
Tom?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, yes. I think Kathy is the right person for this job. Worked with her for the past 5 years. I think she's great. I'm afraid that the majority eventually won't see it that way because they politicize everything. Whether it's the solicitor, they've hired 2 solicitors that have been political hires. If Lynn Treadwell was still the solicitor here, Mark Hudson would still be the township manager here, and I know that for a fact, having discussions with certain people. But they politicized that for the first time ever. Lynn was a solicitor for 23 years. I'm sure they want to politicize this hiring as well. And that's disgraceful. It shouldn't be that. It should be the most qualified, competent person. And you see by the incompetence of our current solicitor, what trouble that gets you into. We received a disturbing email from the firm that the majority here decided to hire to assist with hiring a township manager, where he basically states that we should keep all of our argument and debate in executive session so that prospective candidates don't see how contentious some of our meetings can be. Basically, sell a potential candidate a bill of goods, like you're selling a car that whose transmission is going or something like that. Sell the prospective candidates a bill of goods until you get them in the door, and then go back to your normal debate. So I thought that seemed right up. The firm that they hired seems aligned with them, cover things up, misrepresent things, until you can get something done. But it's, I guess, par for the course with the state.
Okay, I go next. And when we hired the interim manager, when Leslie left, he wasn't here during the whole time. He was only here a couple days a week. So his duties as manager was not full-time like Mark's was.
We also had Link with 23 years of experience as a solicitor, not someone now who's never been a solicitor of a township.
You're
Who's
out
never
of
been a
turn.
solicitor of a
Excuse
township.
me.
Yeah, we also.
Well,
She's
go in
blatantly
and
incompetent.
Chief Barnes was also helping
And
out.
Chief Barnes was also helping out, that's right, Chief Barnes was also helping out, that's
We're
right.
going to recess all night long.
That's right.
All night long, you know songs, right? You know songs,
Yeah.
all night long, just like Man in the Mirror.
Okay, who's next? Victoria?
I'm in favor of appointing the acting manager and having the salary on the April 17th meeting.
Okay, Laura?
Yes, I agree. I
Of course you do.
don't appreciate the smart remarks all the time and
This
the
is something smart on this side
unprofessional,
of the table.
One at a time, please.
very unprofessional.
Kind of like when you encourage people to come to my house on Christmas and
Excuse me,
protest at my house.
Laura has the floor
Kind of
now.
unprofessional like that. Let's talk about
Laura
that.
has
You want to
the
talk
floor.
unprofessional? Let's get into that.
You were gonna say?
I agree that we should appoint Kathy as the acting township manager and then address the salary on our next agenda.
She's out of order.
Okay, at this time, I'm gonna open it up to the floor. Would anybody in the audience like to come up and speak? And remember, there's a 5-minute,
I'm fine. Andrea Witchen. We have set a new record tonight. We were barely 10 minutes into the meeting before we heard the first lie. Benonis told us that the solicitor insisted that the acting township manager not be a part of the executive
Were you
session.
back there with us? Do you know what happened? You weren't even here at 6 o'clock, were you? So how is that a lie, ma'am? How is that, explain to me how it's a lie, because you weren't here.
If it was not a
You
lie,
weren't here.
then why are we voting on this motion
You
now
were
to
not
appoint
here.
her an
You
acting
were
township
not
manager?
here.
You said,
floor.
he said, that Gudzuzian said that.
You weren't here. You're
I don't have to be,
Do
lying.
not have the floor. The resident has the floor.
She addressed Mr. Bonet.
attacks on me, you allowed to happen.
She addressed
And
it.
she's calling me a
She addressed
liar.
it.
She's calling me
She
a
addressed
liar.
it
She's the
directly.
one who's standing here lying, because she wasn't even here to know what was going on.
I don't have
And
to.
you allow this to happen.
What I know
Where's your
is that
comment?
you
Let's go to
stated
contact, Vladimir.
at 6:35 that she was the acting township manager. She was not. You are voting on that right now. That's what's called a lie.
Okay.
Secondly, you
Let the record
stated we
reflect
have to
that.
accept in a vacuum what Solicitor
Right.
Please, one at a time. You don't like people interrupting you.
Do you understand about voting, Mr.
Wait,
Fuller?
here we go. Now
Between
Steve,
the audience.
Susie gonna get in here. Priscilla's elected, now Steve's gonna run it.
Here's the
Susie's
gavel,
gonna run
here's the
it.
gavel, we'll
Let
run it.
Susie run it.
We were also informed that we needed to accept in a vacuum what Solicitor Gudzuzian was doing. That would be identical to the behavior that we understood was the proper way for a solicitor to behave when Lincoln Treadwell was here and he was given total control over the library issues, and that's how we ended up with over $400,000 in legal fees in a single year. Third, while I'm very supportive of asking Kathy if she is interested in having this position and if she have had the appropriate human resource discussions with her, and she is willing to have this public, I think that's a fine idea. What was not a fine idea were the last 2 meetings at which Mr. Benonis behaved in an appalling, disreputable, despicable manner by asking Kathy
That's personal
in
insults. I thought we
public.
had a
She
code of
has the
conduct.
floor.
But we had a code of conduct.
Where's the
against
code of
personal
conduct?
insults. What, did you?
By asking Kathy in
Are you gonna
public,
enforce the code of conduct or not?
in front of the people she would serve, and because she is a paid employee, there is a power differential that needs to be understood here. If you knew anything about human resource management, you would understand how completely inappropriate it was to ask Ms. Gorman in front of the public, do you want this job? And that's what happened. And it was disgusting. And it just shows how much Mr. Benonis and Mr. Carochi do not know about running an organization, particularly one that deals with human resources and with the needs of employees. It was appalling.
I don't even think I was at that meeting.
And I hope
Need
you,
more time because you were interrupted.
I hope you, are willing to do this, because frankly, I don't think we're ever gonna find anybody else.
Maybe you could do it.
We had
A blog about it.
I could do a damn
We
better
had
job than
we
you.
could still have Mark Hudson if they wouldn't have fired me. We'd still have
Okay,
Mark
anybody
Hudson.
else dare to even come up? You're more than welcome.
Yeah, no, no one gets shot there. Oh, wait a minute, sorry.
Congratulations, Kathy, if you accept this position, and may you do the best for the township. We need good people.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Ozimick, while you're at the podium, I'd like to ask you a question. Why did you change your Facebook picture to a picture of myself, my wife, and my kids that were dressed up in our home? Why did you pull that picture from my wife's Facebook page and use that as your Facebook page? I'd like to know an answer to that. Could you share that with the public? Because I find it interesting. I also find it to be threatening.
Do you wanna go?
Can you
to
answer that
the
question, sir? I guess not. I guess not. Okay. Maybe you'll follow me out of the meeting again, out to the parking lot like you did last time, trying to intimidate me so the police officer had to follow you out, sir. Maybe that'll happen again too.
That sounds like.
And,
Please take the stand.
I thought there was somebody else who wanted to speak.
we'll get to Bill.
Most interesting, 5 minutes, wow, that's great. First of all, I, you know, little Dave Boulan, by the way, I know supposed to follow the rules here, and actually that's something I wanted to talk about initially. So when I got ready this afternoon to sit down and think about whether there's some topics here that might be worth talking about with the council before I got to the council, I realized that I got an email, and it said something like, today at noon, I got this amended council agenda. And if I'm right, there's a resolution called 31202A that says, and it's signed by our council president. I hope that's not intimidating. Not intimidated. It says,
Stated it all.
good, that's a good thing. The council can provide names for public review at least 3 days prior to comment for each meeting. 3 days, okay? This was more like 6 hours. Now, I may not be a whiz at math, although I do have done considerable amount, but
But the
that's,
sunshine law, that they changed the rules about 2 years ago, that you could amend the agenda, and we did it the proper way and add something to it.
so where does it say you can add something in this resolution, which, by the way, has got about 6 more items on it than the original from the previous administration? Where does it say that you can just willy-nilly change anything you want? So the public could, excuse me, I'm sorry.
I was trying to answer, but I hold back.
Yeah, that's right, we all make mistakes, even me. All right, so the bottom line is, where does it say that you can just willy-nilly change it wherever you want? Now, I see in here, by the way, I did actually read this resolution finally, and I see all sorts of ambiguities and redundancies about what you can and can't do, and we're all here to promote an atmosphere of reasoned expressions and ideas. I don't find that to be the case, and I hope to speak about that a little bit later. It's not clear to me even, was I going to get a chance to speak about this appointment for Kathy Gorman, who I hold in very high esteem, but I don't find just 2 positions, I find 3 in my agenda. There's 2 new ones. Did anybody say anything about that, Laura Ray? You look like a deer in the headlights here, I'm sorry. So there's a township
That is out
secretary.
of order now.
But Edgar Witcher can attack Jason. You don't say a word.
Deer in the
You don't
headlights.
say a word, right.
You
That's
are
the nicest
such
thing
a
that's been said
clown.
from that podium. That's the nicest thing that's been said from that podium all night compared to what was said Jason, and you're calling him out on that. You are such a hypocrite. You are such a hypocritical fraud. You are such a
It's
hypocritical
nice to
fraud.
see that a few more of the council members are now awake and ready to go. Anyhow, it does say that, if I read it correctly, and by the way, I didn't read the resolution fully, but there's one for the township secretary, that would be a second job, and then there's a township zoning, zoning administrator, that's a 3rd job. Wow, if you keep going, she'll be running the whole town and doing everything, which in my opinion would be just wonderful. That's not what I'm complaining about. I'm complaining about you are not following your own resolution 31/2024A, and I will give examples of that later if you will let me, because I'll run out of time very quickly if I start going through them right now. And I would like to know, if we have all these rules and regulations, it's just like the police. If you're speeding and those lights show up in your rearview mirror, you get a ticket, you pay a fine. What happens when the council people don't follow their own resolutions? especially when they're made up by one person in particular and not necessarily voted up by the remainder of the council. That's a question. I know we never get our questions answered, so if you just sit there and everybody smiles, we'll all be great. I don't like it a bit, all right? So that's really one of them. All right, so the council president can expand the individual comment periods, we just saw that. And by the way, people in the audience aren't supposed to make comments, which clearly, even now and then, I laugh and do, but I don't find it right. And I want to see something stop about that. And as far as these threats that people make, yeah, they're getting pretty tough, I'll tell you. I did walk outside the other evening, and who do I see out there in this far distance? But one of the people that was at this meeting who was making threats, I will say, was out there being calmed down by one of our officers, thank gosh. But if people knew what goes on here, if the public knew, you wouldn't show up either. And yes, I have several people that have said to me, women,
They have only 15 seconds left.
18. And the bottom line is, they don't come anymore because they're scared to come. Because they're scared to walk outside because some of these people that are here yelling and screaming and pointing fingers, and you did this and you did that, and we're gonna get your family. I'd like a reply, I would like a reply at some point, and I'd like it in writing so there's no ambiguity. Thanks.
My name is Kathy Mitchell-McGovern, and I am not afraid at all of coming to a township meeting. I'm not afraid of being threatened by anyone. What I am tired of hearing is Benonis and Carochi wasting everybody's time, dragging it out, paying the solicitor longer. You talk about using our money, spending our money foolishly, and we sit here every night, every other Wednesday till 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, listening to the two of you go back and forth, back and forth. There's no credibility. And I'm not afraid of my own township, ever, actually. Thank you.
Could I ask you a question about credibility? So you stood up at that podium and you said that I was related to Mark Ingalls and Jen Zavacki, that we were family members.
I did not say family
Yes, you
member.
did. Yes, you did. It's in the minutes. It's in the minutes.
So we're related.
It's in the minutes, you crazy
We're
guy.
related. Okay, so I assured you that we're not, and you stand there and you talk about credibility, wasting people's time, and yet you can spew garbage like that. No offense to Mary Ann Garvin, who's here from the landfill, but literally garbage comes out of your mouth and you talk about wasting time.
Right, so you're saying that Jason, Jennifer, and Mark are all related as family?
Appropriate.
Well, but then we should also disclose family relationship. I know, for example, that Priscilla, her brother is Mr. Rosetti. And, you know, I don't know, you can tell, obviously, the resemblance is
There's a roll
quite
call on the
common.
floor.
And they look exactly the
We're
same.
calling
And
for
the
a roll
personalities
call
are the
on the
same.
floor.
And I'd just like to see the power lines that they grew
There
up
will
next
be a
to.
roll call.
Come back to the meeting.
Kathy, start all over again, please.
Mr. Benonis?
The motion is to appoint you as the township manager.
Acting.
Is that what the motion is?
Acting township manager.
Okay, I will vote yes for that.
Ms. Altough Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Carochi?
Yes.
Ms. Reg?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes,
The motion passes 5-0.
congratulations.
Yeah. The only,
Thank you for
the
your
only
favor.
thing that brings us together, we're more confident than the three of them and the solicitor. Come on.
Thank you for your confidence.
Okay, moving on for public comment procedure. And all, in the administrative code, there's a code of conduct copy out in the doorway.
Make sure you follow it because the chair doesn't.
Yeah. You can insult us, but not her.
Okay, there's a 5-minute public comment period for each agenda item. There's a 5-minute comment period for non-agenda items at the end of the meeting. So just be mindful of that. Next, we have the junior council members' report. Nitya and Ruja, is that how you say their names? Okay, hi. Did you want to give a report?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a microphone on your table? And make sure the green button's on, please.
So on April 25th at Saucon High School in the auditorium, there's going to be the senior Saucon pageant, which is basically where Saucon seniors perform, I guess, and people can donate money, and the money goes to pediatric cancer instead of mini fund this year. And so it goes to a good cause, so if anyone's come, we appreciate it.
And what's the date again?
April 25th at 7.
Okay.
Could we advertise that on the township website to get some additional views and perhaps draw some additional traffic to the event?
And then on April 8th, the Saucon Valley Future Business Leaders of America Club is going to Hershey for the state competition. So about 20 kids are going about, I think they're leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning on
Are
Monday.
you one of them?
This year, no. This year I won't be, I didn't know to go, but 20 other kids are going to compete at the state competition, and then we'll see who ends up making nationals in Chicago this year. So that should be neat.
Congratulations.
Wish them all the best of luck.
Okay, next we have the, under presentations and hearings, the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, Ellertown Lower Saucon Chamber is here. Aaron Gasparetti.
That will be static.
I always forget your name. Hi, you wanted to come and talk to us about the nice things that the chamber does.
Certainly. Thank you for having us again. We appreciate
Make sure the green light's on and you're talking in the mic. Might want to raise it up a little bit.
Sounds good. So thank you again. My name is Aaron Gasparetti. I'm joined here with Luis Cano. We make up the Hellertown Lower Saucon Chamber of Commerce. We're joined virtually with Kylie Weiss Adams and Jessica O'Donnell Gower. We are one of 30 chambers and councils that make up the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce. We've recently become a larger regional chamber to kind of broaden our reach and strengthen our relationships across the valley. Our goal is to stimulate the economy and improve the quality of life here in the Lehigh Valley. And over time, we've grown to be the 6th largest chamber nationally, as well as the largest chamber in the state. We often partner with municipalities such as yours to promote existing initiatives and bring in new initiatives to meet the public's needs and just kind of create, activate, and engage the community in different ways. So our favorite way to do this is through ribbon cuttings, through new business activation. We generate a lot of buzz for new businesses coming into town and celebrating anniversaries. We just had one in Lower Saucon last week or 2 weeks ago with Jersey Mike's coming into town. That was a huge, huge, huge buzz. We greatly appreciated being a part of that day. We can do a number of other things, such as during the pandemic, we helped support the counties through dispersing CARES and ARPS funds. We were selected by the counties to not negotiate, but field the application so all the businesses can receive proper funding to thrive and survive through the pandemic. Part of our initiatives at the Main Street Lehigh Valley Foundation, we do a number of beautification projects such as park benches, new lights, and stuff like that that really help out the community as a whole. And boroughs, townships, and municipalities can apply for matching grants through our foundation, and we can provide additional funds to do things such as handicap accessible playground equipment, new sidewalks, stuff like that. It's a super, super program to be a part of. And on your desks, there's a QR code that links to the PDF that is up on the screen. And that just goes over your member benefits. Each one of you are members of the chamber as well as the township as a whole. So we can do things like promote your activities. If you have any Easter egg hunts that went on in the last couple weeks, send it to us. We can post it on social with the groups going to the different school events and whatnot. We can post that stuff too and support, get more eyes on what we're trying to accomplish here in Lower Saucon Township. Our number one event that we do in Lower Saucon is the semi-annual restaurant week. We had a number of restaurants around here, such as Yanni's Taverna and Plaza's Taca, and we had the Art Cafe actually made it onto WFMZ, and they had a great, I don't know, it was a couple-minute interview segment, and it was beautiful. So we really like to drive the businesses to the local treasures that are around, and I feel like sometimes people miss it. So we do our best to promote and support the existing establishments here and create a stronger community for everybody. please feel free to reach out in any types of ways. We left our business cards for you, so we'd love to be supportive however we can to make Lower Saucon Township just a beautiful place to work, play, and thrive.
Well, thank you. Did you want to say something too, or?
No, it's just thank you for having me. I know Aaron kind of covered it all. He takes lead in Lower Town and Lower Saucon, so if you guys need anything, just reach out to us.
Okay, does anybody on council have any questions?
I just want to thank you for coming and thank you for the presentation. And I've been to a couple of ribbon cuttings and I thought they were wonderful. So thank you for supporting our community and our businesses. Thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to, and please come out. We'd love to shout you out and have the council support at these events. It means the world to these businesses. Sometimes you see the tears in their face, and you can see all of their hard work and everything that they pour into it. It really means a lot to them. So we'll try to keep you folks as posted as possible. And if you hear anything coming into town, please let us know so we can generate as much buzz as possible down here in Lower Saucon Township.
Okay, well, thank you for coming.
And we appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, where are we? Okay, moving on then, we have to review of Lower Saucon Township Police Department resources at Saucon Valley School District. This was requested by Mr. Bononis, and there's no accompanying data or information, so.
Yeah, I had asked for this because, as some of you know, when we had the last council meeting, I had announced that I had received a message that the Saucon Valley School District was going to be closed for another day. And that was a result of the bomb threats that were called in that caused tremendous disruption to our community. And this seems to be an ongoing issue. We had this issue of the threat of violence against the school around this time last year, as I recall, with regard to the Satanist Club, and the school was closed at that time, and again, it was closed for a few days just a few weeks ago. So I'm just interested in hearing any updates that the police can provide with regard to those issues. And if we can get an overview of the Lower Saucon Township police resources that have been devoted to addressing these crises that are taking place at the Saucon Valley School District campus. I certainly commend our police officers for their diligence. I know that they were there investigating when those threats came in, and they were also there on campus as they always are, but certainly with a heavier presence to portray or to provide greater visibility to hopefully provide some comfort to the public and the parents and guardians that are dropping their kids off at the school. So I'm interested in hearing that, and I think Chief Bourne could share some information that may help the community at ease and also provide some perspective on these things, because you know, it wasn't that long ago that we weren't having these sorts of repeated threats, and it wasn't that long ago that our police resources were being so heavily devoted to addressing them. So I'd like to see if Chief can give us some information on that.
Sure, Jason. I can give you as much as I can because it is an ongoing investigation,
Yeah,
so please bear with me. Some things I'm not going to be able to share. As most of you are already aware, we had 3 threats at the Saucon Valley School District. One was reported on March 19th, one was reported on March 20th, and another one was reported on March 21st. The first school threat closed school on March 20th. The second one closed school on March 21st. And the third one did not close school and was found to be non-credible through some investigative sources. As far as resources, our detective to this day is working on it diligently, has worked on it since the first threat. From the first threat, we had officers assigned that were night shift, did a search of the school with school staff, which follows our protocol for threats. Day shift also followed through with that, and then we had another day shift officer doing some follow-up out of the area as well. The second threat, the night shift officer took the report, Detective Marth followed up with the investigation, and then during the day, Sergeant Lighty oversaw a canine sweep with 4 canines from Northampton County through the school campus in an attempt to keep it secure and locked down so that we could hopefully go back to school on the 3rd day. That did happen. We ended up with the third threat and was found non-credible. The school was secure, and I put an extra police presence into the school on that Friday when school reopened. As far as extra presence, I assigned day shift officers to deploy to the high school, both at the student arrival time and dismissal time. And I had 2 other officers assigned to the campus between 7 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. during the school day to patrol the school hallways, interior and outside, to show an additional police presence. I was also there in the morning for arrival time as well. And the day went off without a hitch. I mean, there was several students and faculty who were missing, but that was their prerogative, and we made it through the day. As everybody should be aware, there was a press release put out by the district attorney's office. We did make 1 arrest, and the following day, it was 2 days later, we made a 2nd arrest of juveniles. And like I said, the investigation is still continuing.
Chief, was there any mutual aid from other municipalities that, or other agencies that came to assist the township?
The explosive detection canines that came in, there was one from the Pennsylvania State Police, the Bethlehem City Police Department, the Northampton County Sheriff's Department, and Palmer Township Police Department.
Is there any assistance from the Hellertown Borough Police?
I did not request any assistance from them, and I did not need it. I do know the day that we had the extra police presence, their patrol cars did come through the lot because my officers did tell me they were patrolling the area, and I know when I went to the school, I saw them sitting on Walnut Street as well.
Did we have extra officers working overtime at that time? In other words, I know you typically have a schedule, I'm not asking you to disclose what the schedule is, but were additional police resources required other than what was regularly scheduled for that period of time?
I did. The 2 officers that monitored the campus between 7 a.m. and 3:30 were on overtime. There was 3 different officers, one of them pulled the whole day.
I asked why you wouldn't call Hellertown for assistance.
We could handle it in-house, and they're right there if we need them, and I knew they were gonna probably patrol the school, come through the lot, just like they do.
So when they don't have any officers on duty at all, and they call the state police for assistance, they also call you and tell you that, correct? You told us that in an earlier meeting.
Correct.
But when we have a threat, you don't even bother. So
They were
waste of
aware
time.
that-
The waste of time to call them?
No, it's not a waste of time. They were aware that we had the threat, and they were also aware that we were gonna have an extra police presence there. And that has happened in the past as well.
Do you think having a permanent resource officer at the school would be a good thing in light of threats like this? You think that would have had any bearing at all on the threats even being made? If the police were in the school and were embedded with the student body?
I can't answer that, if it would have any effect on the threats. Do I support a school resource officer in our school district? Absolutely.
We offered that, I believe, the school board declined that.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's a new school board, and if that's something that you support and you feel that Lower Saucon Township police resources are being diverted from their ordinary duties or requiring additional resources being committed to that particular location, is there any reason why we would not engage in those discussions again to see if they have a different position? I recall this was probably 2 years ago or so that we had discussions with them. I believe you did, and Link Treadwell.
Correct.
And it may have been Mark Hudson, or it may have been Peter, I'm not sure.
It was Peter, Link, and I, and then also Mark Hudson and I did go to another meeting.
Yeah, and at that time, they did not have an appetite for it, but since then, they've acquired, as I understand it, a paid security force that they have, at least one security guard in the entirety of the campus. It seems like perhaps their views on that have softened a bit or have changed a bit, and that may be because of the circumstances. These things are happening more regularly.
I have no issue approaching the school and starting discussion and dialogue about a school resource officer.
What role, if any, did their private security officer have in search or or any assistance over the past week?
I know that Friday that school reopened, that they were monitoring the security cameras in their office, and they were gonna walk through the school, because my officers also told me they
That's
saw
what they,
one.
that's what they normally do, right? They don't,
Correct.
so they didn't alter their behavior necessarily.
Not that
Well,
I
I mean, you know, one of the things when we proposed a resource officer was that we would pay 25% and they would pay 75%. But it would be a township officer, you know, because the township officer would be at school every day. That's why they would pay 75%. The school districts are the largest property taxes our residents pay, by far, not even close to the township or the county taxes. And they've been raised recently, and our township taxes, although they were raised by the current council, hadn't been raised in a while, and the county taxes have actually been cut over the past couple of years. I mean, we're spending our tax dollars on overtime for officers to conduct these searches. You know, I think, quite frankly, we should send them an invoice. They have the largest tax of property in the township. They don't want a resource officer there. They don't want to pay for it. You know, we should be asking them to pay for it. You know, if they don't want a resource officer.
Tom, it is my understanding that there's two officers over there.
There is a security specialist during the day, and there's also one that works a second shift for after-school activities. I believe they'll kind of block it.
They have somebody there.
They're not officers.
Correct. They are not officers, they are security specialists.
And are they in a uniform or plain clothes?
They wear polos with an identifying patch on them.
So it's not even as if they're anonymous to the school, to the student body. The student body would know who they are, just as they would know who a police officer is, because a police officer's in uniform.
A police officer would be much more visible on a uniform just like this. And a school resource officer would be nothing but a benefit to all of your children that attend this school and the faculty at that school, as well as to the police department to carry on that dialogue and get that connection with the children.
I believe you told me one time, a year or two ago, that the police had to respond to the school in 1 year 180 times. Now, that's just not during the school day, that's on weekends, football games and stuff like that, or had been there 180 times. And to me, you know, that's also time police officers are spending there that we're not being reimbursed for by the school district, that they're not out, you know, patrolling the township. Whereas if we had a dedicated resource officer, then our normal officers could be out doing what they normally do, patrol the township and investigate crime.
Correct. I don't recall that exact number, but I can tell you that I did some investigating today and yesterday. So just since January 1st of 2024, we responded to 46 calls for service at the Saucon Valley School District. I broke it down to the point where there was 33 during school hours and 13 after school hours. After school hours could have been a burglar alarm, something similar to that.
I'm sorry, what was the start date for that data?
I went back to January 1st of this year.
So about 90 days.
Yeah, roughly.
There's at least one call every other day.
46?
I have a question. If there's like an incident at school where, and it's hard to say, but let's say hypothetically speaking, there was an SRO at school, and there was an incident at school, would the police department still have to respond to that incident irrespective of the SRO being on the campus?
The school resource officer would handle most incidents at the school, which would free up one of our patrol officers from going there. So, for instance, when I gave that number of 33 calls since the beginning of the year during school hours, most of them probably could have been resolved by the school resource officer. I can't say all of them because I have to go back through them all.
But instead, an officer is pulled off patrol, sent to the school district in response to that call.
That is correct.
And so technically, the rest of the township, excluding the school property, is down an officer while he's at the school.
Correct. he's answering a call for service at the school.
Right.
And I misspoke, I said it's about every other day. In fact, when you look at the calendar, I think there were about 60 school days in January, February, and March. So you're there 46 separate calls. It's almost one per day.
One per school day, correct.
School day.
About 90 about half the time for 90 calendar days. Some of these may have been on weekends if there's a sporting event.
Some could have been, yes.
Some could have been.
Correct.
Well, I mean, I'm still in support of a school resource officer like Chief Barr.
I'll make a motion to have Chief Warren engage in discussions with Saucon Valley School District Administration for the purposes of exploring a possible school resource officer staffed by a Lower Saucon Township police officer.
Right, I'll second that motion because, you know, one, I think it's needed, would be beneficial. The most important thing is school safety. I think, you know, I don't understand their unwillingness to spend any money on that.
To be clear, are you looking to reallocate one of our current police officers as an SRO, or are you looking for the exploration to be hiring an additional police officer who would be identified as an SRO with some kind of sharing between the township and the district?
Yes.
Are you asking me, or are you asking my motion?
Well, he made the motion, but I second.
My thoughts are, I'd like to hear back if they're interested in it.
Right.
If they're interested in it, then we'll figure out the staffing. I mean, we have, I believe we're fully staffed now as a department, or maybe down one, right?
We're missing one
Yeah,
officer.
so there's gonna be a hiring need there, and to the extent that there's an existing, if this can gain some traction and move forward, as I think it should, for the safety of our school campus, you know, I defer to Chief as to the staffing needs for that.
Right.
I'm not putting the cart ahead of the horse here. I think that's premature. I mean,
I agree. The reason why I asked the question is you're making a point that.
So I am also saying, let up for the chief to decide whether he wants an additional officer or doesn't want an additional officer. But I would like the township to ask the school district to go 75% to 25. Well, she should have cut me off then. So I would ask that they do the 25% from us and 75% from
Or
the
hire a
school
new
district.
staff to cover the extra time that we're looking to make up from all of these calls. Because we've talked about a situation where we send an officer every day. And if we're gonna reallocate one of our officers that we already hired for our township business, that doesn't make much sense to me if we're
Nobody
taking
said that.
something away to do the same thing they're doing now. If
Nobody
we're gonna
said
do that, it would make more sense to say we're gonna hire somebody on top of the staffing that we thought was appropriate at the time for our township.
You should, Victoria, you should leave the.
That's the point.
Victoria, I mean, you don't know. You should, you're exactly, you should leave the staffing decision or recommendation of council up to somebody with expertise. It's not you, obviously, it's Chief Barn. If he decides that this should be a new hire, then I'd be willing to go along with it. If he decides we can do it from our current officers that are hired, that's fine too. But I would ask that the school district reimburse at least 75% of this individual's salary if he's gonna be over there 180 days plus a year. That we do get some money from the school, but that's a decision that, it's way above your head, way above your head. Let's leave it.
If we're gonna make an argument about staffing, that currently we're putting the township at risk because we're allocating our current staff to respond to the school district, it doesn't make any sense to reduce our staff to fill the need. If you wanna add staff
I didn't
to
suggest that.
fill the need, that would make sense to comport with the concerns that you brought up about our officers responding on a daily basis and taking away from other township needs. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. It's not about whether Chief Barn can or can't allocate his staffing. It's about the argument of using our resources in our township to help the school district. That's the point. I think that if you're going to engage and use our staff's time, more of our staff's time to engage the school district, it would be appropriate to at least give them some criteria and say, we're looking to add on top of, because our current staff it's putting our township at risk.
You're gonna give,
That's what
you're gonna give the police criteria, that's.
I have two
that's-
questions.
Sure.
Okay, has the school district, been in contact with you over that there are officers that they have on duty, that they need help or anything like in normal time?
They're not officers, we have officers, they're security guards. Don't denigrate our officers by calling those people officers. They are security guards, not officers.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about, so can you answer?
I have ongoing dialogue with the school, but never to assist their security specialists. We're always called there for calls of service, whether it's a medical call, whether it's to assist them with stuff that I will not discuss further, fights, disturbances, stuff like that.
Right. So, okay, so we have a school district that's, you said had how many calls? Can you, what's the second one? Is
No,
that
it's
the
46.
most, is that the most instances? I mean, there's businesses, there's the Giant, there's all kinds of other places that you respond to.
I didn't do any research on that. I knew I was coming here for the school, and I just wanted to give a brief number as to the amount of times we were there. Maybe to help the situation out, if I open discussion and dialogue like you're gonna pass the motion, I believe, I would open that up, see if I can get cooperation from the school. If the cooperation is there and they're in favor of it, and this council is in favor of it, it would clearly be my recommendation that we hire an additional officer to fulfill that position for the 9 months out of the year, which would give us the 75-25 that Mr. Carochi's talking about, or whatever kind of financial agreements are worked out, whether it's grant money, stuff like that. But I would make a request that we hire an additional officer. With that being said, let's understand that this doesn't happen overnight. First of all, we have the hiring problem, as we're all well aware of. Second of all, in order to go in as a school resource officer, you have to be trained as a school resource officer, and it takes a special person to do that. So there would have to be interviews there. So that hopefully might answer some questions, but I would definitely request an additional officer.
Well, I think, it is gonna take a while, and that's why I think we should pass this motion tonight to at least start the conversations of this possibly happening with the goal that if the school district agrees, that someone can be in place hopefully by September next year when school goes back into session.
And that may be
We do have time, it's only April 3rd. I know it's going to be a while to find the special person you're looking for, but if we start that process tonight from our end, hopefully it can be done.
The more time, the better. And I don't think there's a better time than right now.
I agree.
Chief, is your recommendation that, do you think that it's appropriate for you to approach the school district to discuss this issue?
I have no problem
You've already done it before.
approaching the school district. I did it before, and I have a lot of documentation to it. And our neighboring departments that have school resource officers have also reached out to me prior the last time and the time before that if I ever need any assistance. So the resources are there, and I'm not afraid to use them.
And all of our neighboring districts have officers, school resources, all of them, all of our neighboring
And
districts.
in fact, just about every
To
school district.
clarify my
we have
question,
others, right?
My question was whether or not, the question was whether or not you think, not whether you can, but whether you think it's appropriate for us to have you go to the school district to request it. Do you think this is a need?
Yes, I do find it as a need.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Sure.
Jason?
To be clear, Saucon Valley School District may be the only school district in the entire Lehigh Valley that does not have a licensed police officer serving as a school resource officer, correct?
I believe we're one of the few, yes.
And this is a situation where we don't want to be in the minority.
Correct.
I think it sounds like a good idea to approach the school and see what they think. Maybe they have a different thought than they did last time. And then we can move from there.
I Well, there's a motion on the floor, and there's a second.
Okay, so we had council discussion.
Can we just clarify that the motion would be, to add an additional officer?
No, the motion is to approach the school district.
You're talking about hiring people, doing other things. First thing we have to do, I mean, it's very logical. I understand logic is lost on some people in this council. But the logical process, as Chief had explained, is for him, because he's done, hello, can I finish?
Yes. Please finish.
The logical progression of this is for Chief Barnes, who has done this before, who has conversations with him before, who has the information, and also has access to other departments that do this, to approach the school to see if they're interested in it. If they tell him that they're not interested in it and go pound sand like they did before, well then, at that point, I don't know why we're even talking about hiring another police officer or doing anything else, because that's where it ends. So how about if the chief goes and does what we ask him to do, that he uses the skill set that he has, the information that he has, to go and get an answer to that question, to see if there's interest, and then if there is, then we figure out how to staff it.
Ms. Optoff fails to understand the basic concept that if the school board doesn't want, if the school board doesn't want a police officer, they don't have to have one. Even though the school district is in Lower Saucon Township, she fails to understand that basic concept.
The item of either we're adding additional officer.
My motion is my motion.
Yeah. Your failure to understand it is absolutely incredible. It was a simple basic motion to engage in conversation with the school board and the school district about possibly a resource officer. That was the motion made, that's the motion was seconded. She fails to understand that even though the school district is located in Lower Saucon Township, you can't just send an officer in there that they don't want all the time. You only respond to calls, is that correct?
Correct.
Or maybe do a regular patrol in the parking lot or something like that. But actually going in the school, I know Ms. Optoff fails to understand basic
You know
concepts.
what, we can say a whole bunch of stuff about you too, but I really
Go ahead.
hope
I'd love to hear it.
No, because I wasn't raised that way.
Oh, yeah.
Raised that
You
way.
were. You and Mark, you and Mr. Ozuna weren't raised that way?
Motion, so we can.
You and Mr. Ozuna weren't raised that way, your brother?
Can you state the motion one more time?
Yeah, my motion again is to have Chief Barnes contact and engage in discussions with the Saucon Valley School District Administration about interest in having a school resource officer staffed by a Lower Saucon Township police officer for the purposes of providing school resource officer services within the Saucon Valley School District, along the lines of what we've already discussed before, which is a 75%, 25% split, because the school isn't open all 365 days a year.
And that's the motion I seconded, that's the motion we had before. I don't understand, people can't understand.
Well, it's really complicated.
It makes it, it's very complicated.
Public safety is very
Way above, way above.
Okay, I'm gonna end council discussion and then open it up to the, audience, whoever wants to speak. I'm sorry, I have to step aside, chief.
Kathy Mitchell McGovern, thank you, Chief Barnes, I appreciate it. Tom, why you would cause animosity between Lower Saucon Township Police and Lower Town Police is beyond me. In administrative legislation, the Lower Saucon Township Council rules, chapter 17 is intermunicipal police cooperation. If I need a police officer, I want a police officer. I don't want Lower Town and Lower Saucon to be fighting with each other, and a council member that supports that is an atrocity.
So is Jason related to, Mark Ingles or not? I don't know.
I offered to take a DNA test, but it was never taken up. I still offer to do it.
Okay, come on, you
I still
know,
offer. I will gladly prove my lack of familial relationship to others that were once on the council.
I'm sorry, Mark, there's somebody up there at the podium. Mark?
Thank you, Chief Barnes, for your work with the school. I have a recommendation of my own. I recommend that the council, provided two of you could behave, is that the council request that the school board come here for a meeting with everybody in attendance.
There's something called the Sunshine Law, sir.
Sorry, I haven't studied the Sunshine Law. I don't know if you can do that or not, but I don't see why you couldn't. It's a matter of public safety for kids. The school board should be interested in coming to the township and saying, look, can we come up with a plan? Can we work together to make sure that the kids don't have a problem in school? And you know what? This wouldn't be coming from a 13, 14, or 16-year-old Mr. Ozimek. And I say that because we're the ones that had barrels of beer on the bus going to Votech. We're the ones that smoked a whole bunch of pot on the bus going to Votech. I came from the east side of Allentown. I know what goes on in schools. I might be 64 years old, but I'm not so far gone that I'm stupid that I forgot everything. So that would be my recommendation to the school board and the council. As far as the sunshine law, that's up to you to figure out and discuss. But I think it would be a good thing to do, and I think it would be a good thing to have certain members of the public available to view it also, or be here, parents, students, people that are actually gonna get some good out of it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead. Oh, thought you had something more to offer.
No, I would say that if the motion passes tonight, if you can give me till the first meeting in May, and I'll come back and give you a report as to where we're at. Hopefully it progresses, and we can move forward from there.
Okay. Roll call,
I hope it brings us good news.
Ms. Uptown Cordero?
You want to ask what we're voting on?
I vote, yes, and just so the public and the school district understand, I, am not going to be rigid with respect to the funding allocation identified, and it's my personal view as what Chief Barnett indicated, that this would be in addition to the current police force in Lower Saucon. Thank you.
Mr. Carucci?
Yes.
Ms. Reg?
Yes,
Ms. DeLeon?
I'm voting yes because I think a discussion is appropriate, and depending on what results from there, I may change my mind. But for right now, I think you should have the conversation. So I'm voting yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Oh, yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. Thank you. Look forward to coming back.
Thank you,
Oh, we may
Jason.
as well
Thank you,
stay there.
Jason, for putting that, thank you, Jason, for putting that on the agenda.
I appreciate your second.
We had to, I know.
It sounds like two members of council are not that inclined to go with it.
Next item on the agenda is Police Department purchase of 2 body cameras. The Police Department is looking to purchase 2 new body cameras to replace 2 malfunctioning cameras no longer under warranty. So I'm gonna open that up for you then.
We received our body cameras several years ago. The warranty expired at the end of 2023, and since then, some of them have been falling off and malfunctioning, which that piece of equipment is one of the most important pieces we have in this day and age of law enforcement. And I'm requesting to purchase 2 new ones with a 5-year warranty, which will allow us to have a spare. And then when our additional officer gets sworn in full-time, he will have one. So we're at full tilt. I also have applied for some grant funding preliminary. Hopefully I can get that. If not, I will be back for the 2025 budget to replace all 20 of them. If I'm able to get these 2, they will be put into the rotation for the next 20 of them.
Are the body cameras the type of device that need to be certified or validated in terms of what they capture? It's akin in my mind to like a breathalyzer machine, where that has to be calibrated to make sure that it's doing its job correctly. And I understand that what a body camera is capturing is not physical evidence in the terms of the blood alcohol content, but video evidence. And for that video evidence to be admissible in criminal proceedings, is there any sort of certification that is required for those cameras?
No.
Okay.
Okay, Tom?
I'm a big supporter of body cameras, and I think we should have one for each officer, and look forward to voting for the new ones next year.
And I would just bring up.
You already had your.
Right, he's going again. I recognize
I didn't say that.
I recognize you, Jason, go ahead.
As I recall, before I was on council, the department did not have body cameras. And in fact, body cameras were put in place and you had implemented and created a policy for that. And the purpose of it was really not so much gotcha to capture crimes taking place, but largely for risk management purposes for the police officers, so that when the township would get sued under a frivolous abuse, excessive force or constitutional right violations, that the township and the officers are protected in performing their police duties. I think it's a critical element that keeps our police department protected and keeps our township protected, as well as serving an evidentiary purpose. But I think the evidentiary may be secondary.
That is correct. We did not have them, and I applied for a grant. We didn't even pay anything, and the grant was fully funded through the PCCD and the Chiefs Association. We did negotiate a policy with the Police Officers Association, and have had no issues since. And the officers wear them diligently. We have no issues.
Yeah, I recall when we had the consultant to help us hire a new chief, which ended up being you. And Priscilla was on that committee. I forget the name of that consulting firm, and the gentleman from North Carolina. John Scruggs. But he had a study that, I forget the exact number, it was over 90%. That 90% of the times when the video was needed and viewed, it exonerated the officer around the country. It didn't implicate the officer. It should show the officer was following procedure, which helps the township if there's any type of dispute or lawsuit. So they're valuable. They're valuable to taxpayers. They save a lot of potential false claims by defendants.
Okay, it's my turn. I'm not interrupted. I support this. You know, I've always supported these body cams, and they're there to protect the officer, in my opinion. So anyway, is this out of this year's budget? Were these budgeted for 2024?
They were not, that's why they're being brought.
Okay, so we have money in the budget to pay this. Okay, thank you. Victoria?
I'm in full support of it, thank you.
Laura?
Yes, I'm in full support as well. I just have one question then on the subscription fee. Is that, like maybe for cloud storage for the video, or
No.
what does that cover?
Good question. We don't have cloud storage. We have a server that is secured in our evidence room, so everything downloads right to that when the officers come back and put them in the docking stations.
I saw that,
That is-
is that backed up?
That is clear, yes. That is clearly the warranty, which I could assure you that the last warranty has been very beneficial to us, whether it was batteries or malfunctions. They would send us a new camera, and we would send the old one back, and there'd be no questions asked.
That's great.
Yes.
You're not worthwhile buying the warranty on
No.
things, you know? No, this is great.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone in the public like to come up and speak on this matter? I don't see any. Okay, can we have a roll call, please? I'll make a motion to purchase 2 new body cameras to replace 2 malfunctioning cameras no longer under warranty for the amount of $2,055. Is there a second?
Second.
That price was just.
Oh, for double. So, what was that again?
4,110.
Sorry. Nobody saw it. I did look. Okay, I'll change my motion to $4,110.
I'll second that.
Okay, Laura? And, we already had public comment, council discussion, and so roll call.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Southop Cordero?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Be safe out there, everybody. Next, we have Resolution 40-2024, Township Secretary. Resolution 40-2024 has been prepared, appointing Kathy Gorman as Township Secretary, and I'll make that a motion. Would there be a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Victoria. And public comment, Jason? Tom?
No.
Priscilla? I'm in favor of it. Victoria?
I'm in favor, thanks.
Laura?
Yes.
Come. so next, after council discussion, public comment, is there anyone out there that would like to speak on this issue?
Somehow, I don't think the first time I said it, it stuck. All right, so this is the second job that you'll be taking on in addition to the, what'd it say? Right, okay. So she's acting right now, if I understand that sign correctly, correct? So now she holds two jobs, and that should be worth original salary of Mark plus salary she's getting, and now we have, actually, the secretary's salary added to it. Is that correct? Just not. No, just not correct.
That's cool.
Try looking in the administrative code. Okay, anybody else like to speak? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Carucci?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Congratulations again. Next, we have Resolution 41-2024, which is the Township Planner and Zoning Administrator. Now, the resolution has been prepared, appointing Kathy Gorman, and I'll make that motion for the Township Planning and Zoning Administrator. Would there be a second?
A second.
Okay, council discussion, Jason?
No.
Tom?
No, she's more competent than the three of you and our solicitor combined.
I'm in favor of it. Victoria?
I'm in favor, thanks.
Laura?
In favor.
And just the public out there understanding these are all jobs in the administrative code that is assumed by the manager, so there's really no extra pay, right? It's just
Right.
kind of.
It's part of the manager's job.
Right, right, it's part of the job. So with that, public comment, anyone?
I just would like some clarification.
Gotta go to the mic, Kathy, so we can hear you.
Sorry, I don't want to hold everything up. I just don't understand township planning zoning administrator. So you handle like all the phone calls that come into the plan?
No, she oversees all that, and the manager would oversee all that.
I would work with our zoning officer, Mr. Young, in overseeing zoning hearing board agendas and planning commission
Thank you for the
agendas.
clarification.
Right. It's in the second class code and our administrative code of the township.
And it's common sense.
Okay, since there's no one else ready to speak, we have a roll call, please.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Carucci?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Kathy. Resolution 42-2024, transfer of funds to capital. It has been prepared following the presentation of the comprehensive annual financial report at the March 20th meeting and is attached for council's review and approval. So that was in your packet. Everybody can see it online. And did you want to go over that?
Sure. As we discussed in the capital presentation last meeting, transferring funds from one fund to another does require a resolution by council. And the amount of money is being transferred is in accordance to approved township policy. So what we are asking council to do is to approve this resolution so I can officially move the money that we had needed to pay for the improvements on the Easton Road Ball Field and the other projects that are outstanding out there.
Okay.
And just to be clear, we're obligated to pay those amounts as they come in pursuant to the
Yes.
approval of things in 2023.
When Hanover Engineering reviews the bills that come in, and it will be presented to council.
Okay, Jason, did you have any questions?
No.
Comments? Tom?
No.
Okay, Victoria, you already went. Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I understand this is to cover our contractual obligations that were made at the end of 2023, and so this is just normal transfer.
Okay, with that, I'll
That's
open
right,
up
it's
to the public. Anybody in the public would like to speak? Anyone? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Carochi?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Deleon?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we have review prepared of the draft ordinance for advertisement and necessary steps to move forward with possible enactment of an ordinance setting council term limits. I guess we all remember this was on the ballot as a referendum, and it passed, so now we have to implement it. So I guess we need a date. Does anybody have any ideas on like what agenda item this would go on?
What you would do is you would go ahead and move forward with advertising, and then we could set it for a particular date after the advertisement is complete. What we can do is, if you want, you can make a motion to advertise and then have staff report back as to put it on an agenda for a particular date, because sometimes it takes a while to get in front of you, to have the advertisement the requisite time.
Well, I don't think we're in any rush right now because it's not gonna affect us until next
So
year.
the idea is we move forward with the advertising now.
Okay. So I guess I'll make that motion to go forward with the advertising, for the ordinance setting council term limits. Is there a second?
I would like to ask a question about the terms of this proposed ordinance. The actual question that was placed on the ballot is as follows. Do you favor the adoption of an ordinance that would amend the township's optional plan of government and administrative code to impose a 2 consecutive term limit, 8 total years, for Lower Saucon Township Council elected members commencing with the terms that begin on January 5, 2026, continuing thereafter for all elected council members? Any years of service by an individual who is appointed to council should not be included in the 8 total year limitation, yes or no? As I recall, that referendum vote passed overwhelmingly. I think it was around 80% to 20% favor of it. I would point out, never mind, I won't point out. I'll leave it at that, because the effective date is included here in the proposed ordinance in section 2, not section 1.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, this was something the previous council put on the ballot, and I think it's good. I think 8 years is more than enough for any one person to serve. I mean, Priscilla's the poster child of politicians, why we need term limits. She's been here for 35 years and has done nothing.
36.
She's taken tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars and put it in her pocket. So this is her job. She doesn't work. You've been on disability workers' comp for 25 years? 25 years? You tell me, I don't know. I'm asking a question.
I'm not gonna answer that.
Okay. You're on personal, right. Living off the, is it a private workers' comp or is it the taxpayer dollar? So she's been doing that for about 25 years.
I think it's disability.
Yeah, there's a disability, right. There's a disability that allows her to spend all her time at the township and get money. But she's the poster child.
The topic is term
And,
limits.
And he's explaining why it's important to have term limits, to get rid of dead weight, that's taking taxpayer dollars and lining their pockets and getting nothing done.
Exactly.
That's what he's
So was
explaining.
Exhibit A, she was a poster politician. Or Bob Freeman too. So I'm glad this passed. I thought it would. I know township residents like the idea, and we should definitely advertise it. Priscilla might have to get a real job. I don't know how long her disability.
I'd love to see that.
She had to pay taxes, get a real job. She had to pay taxes from her real job.
I'm in favor of moving forward as motion stated.
Okay, Laura?
I had a question though, on
Okay.
how this is worded though in the term limits in section 1. So there it only mentions two term limit. It doesn't say anything about consecutive though, so it seems different, or it is different. So should that be worded differently? That's my question. Before it's advertised.
So we have two options. We could go ahead and advertise as is, or somebody could, if we wanted to amend the motion, to to have the change indicate instead of a two-term limitation to have it be a, so it matches the language, a two consecutive term limitation.
Right, should match it, right?
And then the other option would be you advertise as is, which will always give you an opportunity to amend it at a later date too, because all you're doing is advertising. But since you, I think, accurately caught it, I think the better way to proceed is, if we're inclined, the person who made the motion amends their motion.
I will amend my motion to reflect that new language.
Could I get clarification as to who prepared this draft ordinance that did not match the referendum?
Our office.
Question, oh, your office. Okay.
$180 an hour, you couldn't get it right.
Just a cut and paste, and it's already there.
What were we billed for this? Did it take 2 hours, 3 hours, Mr. Gitsus?
I recall quite a few
Oh, no, this
resolutions
isn't
that had
kindergarten.
errors in them before.
We have better kids in kindergarten.
So there's, you amended your motion, I think we need a
Amend
second.
it, and then the second?
I'll second.
Okay, Victoria. Okay, how about public comment?
By law, have to give my name and address, Dave Luann, 2023 Alice Drive. May I speak?
You don't have to give your address though.
Oh, well, gee, wow. So I read that, and I read it about 5 times and thought the same thing. It seems awful complicated, as Ms. Ray pointed out. That had to be so verbose in order to state a simple thing that we, the council, are implementing this, which the voters have mandated, okay? Or something very simple to that. And yet as I say, it's so convoluted, and now we find out it's goofy, and it's gotta be rewritten, and I agree. We need people that are sharp here at the council all the time, whatever it may be, well read up on this subject, understand it, at least somebody caught it here, understand it, and we move forward on it, so there's no debate. If you get it right the first time, somebody already said that, then you don't have to ask again and again and have a big argument about it. So I'd encourage the council, they get paid handsomely, I know, to really review these things, and if you have questions, try to resolve them in your own head first, okay?
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I guess we have a roll call then, please, Kathy?
Ms. Alcoff Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Carucci?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Venonis?
This includes the amendment to fix the error that the solicitor's office made.
Or incompetent solicitor.
That's
Fix
right.
the error,
Yes.
incompetent solicitor.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Kathy. Next, we have G, review prepared draft ordinance for advertisement and necessary steps to move forward with a possible enactment of the ordinance amending section 125.6A of chapter 25 entitled Peddling and Soliciting. Anything to say on that one?
This was an ordinance to have the local ordinance, the lower Saucon Township ordinance match to the Pennsylvania code with regard to peddling. There was a conflict before, and this matches it up. With regard to timing and dates.
And the previous ordinance was prepared by our past solicitor. I'll make a motion.
What's the change? What exactly was the conflict though?
The conflict was that the conflict was that the existing ordinance provided or restricted peddling more than the Pennsylvania code. There was a potential challenge that we received from an attorney, and the thought was that rather than litigate this matter, simply amend the ordinance to match the Pennsylvania code to avoid any potential future litigation or potential future.
What were they complaining about specifically?
The hours.
The hours, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
And then the date also, I believe, but primarily the hours.
Okay.
Right, so the new language is fixing that to match the state law.
Correct.
Good then. Okay. So, I guess I'll move for approval, to advertise what? Or something
To
the same
advertise,
way?
correct.
Okay. The ordinance, amending section 1.125.6A of chapter 25 for the peddling and soliciting ordinance. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, council discussion, Jason?
Yeah, do we know when the existing ordinance, the one that's currently in the books, when that was enacted?
I do not know, Mr. Williams.
And then the reason I asked that is because Priscilla De Leon just tried to take a pot shot. She said, oh, that one was prepared by our former solicitor. She didn't mention him by name, but I'm sure that that's a, you know, an underhanded way to try to suggest that Link Treadwell had something to do with it, and.
Could have been Ed McCarski.
Could have been anybody.
Could have been Ed McCarski was the solicitor.
It could have been anybody, but it seemed to me that that might have been an underhanded way to try to attack it and provide more cover for.
So again, with no evidence of anything, makes it clean.
Okay, Tom?
I'm not done.
I recognize you, Jason. You're recognized, Jason.
Thank you, Tom, I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that, unlike the last ordinance that did not match the language of the referendum, does the language that's contained in this ordinance accurately reflect what is contained in the state law that we're trying to not be more restrictive of? Can I get an answer to that, to the solicitor? Will he answer that question?
You read it, it does.
No, I don't have the state law in front of me, so that's why I'm asking.
You do.
There.
Okay. Well, that's what it says. It's not.
It is, it's a quotation.
Okay.
52
Is that
PA code.
my question is,
Section
when you're
111.9.
speaking, I know you like to mutter all the time and talk to yourself.
Well-
Sometimes you answer yourself.
She's out of order.
I'm not asking you to answer me. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to.
I didn't recognize you, Laura. I recognize
Would
Jason.
you control her?
And you're not
please, Priscilla?
running the meeting. You
I would like
don't
the president to get control of this and allow me to finish speaking. My question is,
You don't
does
think
that
I'm running the
language reflect what's there? I understand you put quotation marks around it. I'm asking, is that accurate to what is contained in 52 PA Code 111.9?
I believe it does.
You believe? All right. Guess we'll rely on that.
Laura's ever said. she doesn't
Thank you
think
for
I-
answering the question that I presented to the solicitor. That's very, I see that you're making progress. That's very, very forthcoming.
Funniest thing Laura ever said. She doesn't think I run the meetings.
Are you finished, Jason?
I'm done now. Thank you for asking.
Tom?
No, I have nothing besides what Laura said. Very funny. Thank you.
Okay, I have nothing. Victoria?
Nothing.
Laura? No. Okay, so after council discussion, we have public comment. Would there be anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this? Okay, seeing none, oh, you wanna
I'm
speak?
sorry, my hearing's not super great.
I don't decide
What
that.
was it that, what was the conflict, the actual conflict? Was it the hours? I heard that, but, and the reason is because I get peddlers at my house, and I wonder whether they should be there or not. So I didn't even realize we had a peddling law. But tell me a little bit about what did we have for hours, and what are you proposing to match the state with hour per hour?
The proposed matching is 9 AM to 7 PM during the 6 months from October to March. And then 9 AM to 8 AM from April to September, meaning there's labor hours in the summertime.
8 p.m.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. 8
Yeah,
PM.
well, it was one of those, okay. So, Madam Chairman, is it possible we could have on some of these things, just a little brief detail of what's being proposed? I mean, that's really trivial, but really easy to understand, and bingo, it's off the item and on to the next agenda.
Agenda item description, and then in there is the click on to see the actual document.
Yes, also, I mean, things like proposals, I'm really blown away when I walk in here and somebody has got this long-winded proposal which has been well prepared, but it does not appear in our sheets, okay? As part of our, quote, you would say packet, but our online material. Some things are very important and we don't get to read them or understand or see them until they're actually read by a council member, and I find that to be heinous, I really do. Because I'm interested in what goes on, and if I don't understand, I can't understand it, like this agenda, because I get it 6 hours before the meeting, yeah, that just says, I've just wasted a lot of time, and so a lot of other people who don't even show up here, so, yes? Was that a yes answer?
I guess this agenda was published on Friday with this item in it.
Right, but not the minute details of it that would be helpful to the public to understand. Yes?
Well, I don't put the agenda together. The manager would put the agenda together.
I understand that. You put it together with the manager. The manager consults you also. So is it possible to put that in there, or don't you have, should I be talking to our interim manager?
Well, we'll work on that, right?
Okay, so we'll have an answer perhaps on some of these? Just a little more, I mean, it only takes a little bit of typing.
Right.
Thank you.
And she's lying about that. She clearly puts the agenda together with our former manager, Mark Hudson. The right to know email showed that she's clearly directing him what to put on the agenda for all the meetings in January, February, and the first one in March at least. I think, well, we got the January and February emails anyway from the right to know. I don't think we have the March ones yet, but
Not yet.
sure the same thing. So she's lying when she says she doesn't set the agenda.
That's unfortunate if that's true.
It is true. We have the emails that show. Very true.
Okay.
Okay, so where are we? I guess if no one in the audience wishes to speak, we have roll call.
Mr. Carucci,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis.
I would just point out before I vote to the public that there is a do not solicit list that you can get on. If you don't want people knocking on your door, the township has that, you can get that on the township website. So by voting yes for this does not necessarily mean that I endorse door-to-door solicitation, but I will vote yes because we need to comply with state law.
Ms. Alpagudera. Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next we have Town Hall Park Tot Lot Edition. The township applied for a $50,000 grant and was awarded $20,000. Council will discuss the quotes received. Well, discuss the quotes, not council.
That would be me.
That
I'm
would be
sorry,
you.
that would be me. If you remember, last year, we applied for a grant through the state local share and the Keystone grant to pay for the improvements to the tot lot at the, closer to the softball field, which is, work is beginning. We're going to be scheduling with the contractor soon. Later in the year, we were afforded an opportunity to apply for another grant through Northampton County, and the council had approved to apply for a grant for the lower level for a younger age bracket inside the fenced area to replace some of the equipment out there that was a little, is obsolete, and it's over 20 years old, so parts of the playground equipment cannot be replaced at this time. So we brought this back to Park and Rec. Park and Rec has made a recommendation that's in your packet, and we're asking council to consider either going with the original plans of the improvements at the lower level, and if we do that, the cost would be $97,900 total for both projects. And if we did we removed some of the smaller features of the proposal, it would come down to $77,497. And that can even be reduced by $18,000 depending on whether or not we need to buy additional rubber mulch for those projects. So at this point, we're asking council's consideration as to which direction they would like to go.
Now,
So is council with?
well, hold on, I need a point of clarification. The numbers you gave were 77,000 and 97,000.
That
In my
was-
packet, it's 78,796.
Yes, one is 78,000 is the quote, and 99,199. I'm sorry, the amounts that I was giving you was for the rehabilitation of both parks.
All right.
I apologize for that.
Well, I think it's a good project. I think our parks should be much better than they are. I'm for the full amount. I support this. I would like to, point out when, we're doing this baseball field and it's going to be great. And people were like, some of the people who opposed that were like, well, not everybody plays baseball, so we shouldn't be spending money on it. Or not everybody plays pickleball, we shouldn't be spending money on the pickleball course. But here we have tots. Tots don't even pay taxes yet. Their parents do. And we're gonna spend $100,000 hopefully on a nice park for them because they deserve it. And it just shows that not everybody's gonna use everything we spend money on in our parks. but it doesn't mean we can't have great parks that have a lot of different things for a lot of different people of different ages. And, you know, I know we have a lot of whiners on Parks and Rec right now, and some of them on this council. And I just wanted to point out their hypocrisy of, well, I'm sure they're gonna vote for this, as they should. I hope they vote for it, they should. So I'll make a motion for the $99,199 to be approved by council tonight for the full top park and all the great things that come with it. Who says I don't run these meetings?
And I would also like to add that the ADA equipment's gonna stay.
Okay, I'm glad
Well,
they're
second,
supporting disabilities for the ADA.
I just have a question.
I'll second.
Second, thank you. You said you were on.
With respect to the grant money, we talked about, like, initial cost of 50,000 and then the grant of 20, I think. You said 20, but then we were talking about a cost of 70 and 90. So, can you clarify out of the 99,000, which is the current motion on the floor, how much of that is granted?
We received a grant for this addition to the town hall park. We've received a grant for $20,000.
And the total cost for this?
For this would be $79,199.
79, okay, so where do we have the 99?
The 99 was the original quote.
But it's with
So
all.
we're gonna pay.
I follow.
We're gonna pay the
So the
contract of
total that
99.
we're paying,
Well,
township
actually,
is paying.
the net result will be $79,199.
The township is paying the 99, so we're taking a $20,000 grant, we're turning that over, and then we're taking 78,000, whatever, out of
Park capital fund.
park capital money. So the township is paying 99, not paying 70. We get a grant, we still can use that grant money. The grant was to the township, not to the contractor of the park. Basic stuff.
Okay, Victoria, you went, you were talking, Jason, did you wanna say something?
Yeah, I'm gonna reserve my comments until after the public speaks, if they speak at all.
That's not our procedure.
Well, I'm gonna do that.
I recognize you, Jason, for doing it.
We don't recognize you.
Whatever. Laura?
And no, I like all the bells and whistles because it includes, special equipment that was, like musical, which is very different. And, I know somebody at Parks and Rec was talking about how, you know, it's, not all kids can do the things that the other playground equipment has, like climbing on ropes or up and down a slide. So to them, maybe banging on a xylophone or making the bells ring would be great for them. So I think it's a neat addition.
Were the junior members on the council asked about how they felt about tax dollars being used for this top part, like they were the baseball field? They weren't? No? Mr. Holland didn't show up? Didn't show up tonight either?
Okay, I guess I'll open up to the floor. Does anybody want to speak? Go ahead, Jason, it's all yours.
Yeah, so I would point out, as Tom had mentioned earlier, this park, according to the quote that we have from Burke, it says Burke proposal 56-169491, 2024 pricing, ages 2 to 5. Again, ages 2 to 5. So when you look at the U.S. Census Bureau data for Lower Saucon Township, how many people do you think are under 5? 4.9%. So 95.1% of the township is not under 5 and will not use this playground. But yet, we have hysteria, literally hysteria, about building a ball field, baseball field, where Lower Saucon Township doesn't have any lighted ball field, Hellertown doesn't have any lighted full-size baseball field. You have hysteria from people. I don't hear Ms. Witchens standing up and clamoring about this.
Hypocrites and frauds.
I don't hear Mr.
Hypocrites and
Blasco,
frauds.
I don't hear Mr. Ozimick yelling about it. I don't hear Ms. Pitchell McGovern yelling about it, but they're here. I don't hear Jerry Holland here. I don't see Jerry Holland standing here at the podium complaining about this. I don't see him saying, you know, what about the tax dollars being spent for this? You know, in this township, over 65 years old is 23.6% of the population, okay? I don't see the over 65-year-old crowd, almost a quarter of the population, playing on the tot lot that we have here. And the township has excuse me, I'm speaking. The township, disabled people in the township are 10.1% of our population. Priscilla helps that number out. Disabled people, so 89.9% of the population is able-bodied and could potentially use this, but even 10% can't use it. And I'm not disparaging disabled people because they can't use a park. What I'm doing is I'm disparaging the fools that will stand here and yell about building a baseball field that kids are excited to use. A kid is at a Parks and Rec meeting and is asked about, what do you think about a baseball field? And he gets criticized because he should be commenting about the use of tax dollars when all the kid wants to do, him and his friends, want to just play baseball. Okay, just like 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds want to use a playground. Right? They want to use a playground and they're going to be provided with a playground, but the hypocrites on this council and the hypocrites out there in the public are going to stand up here like a bunch of jackasses and yell about something that's decent for the community, but yet they're dead silent on something like this when it's going to benefit 2 to 5-year-olds. Design a bill for 2 to 5-year-olds, and that's great that 2 to 5-year-old toddlers got a place to go and play on playgrounds. I'm not against that at all. What I'm against are the fools that we have in this council that'll waste our time.
Okay, and there's a big difference, there's a big
Hello?
difference.
Am I talking here? Would you shut up your colleague?
How do you like it?
Would you shut up your
Well, I
colleague?
didn't
Would you
recognize
like
you.
your-
I didn't
Shut up your colleague. Would you like your colleague shut up or not? You got the gavel. Can I have it to shut her up? Because you're not using it. You don't know how to use it.
Jason, even I didn't recognize
You use it. Yeah, you know how to use it. You know how to use it selectively, right? Yeah, okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. Oh, thank you. A little bit late, Priscilla. It just proves there's more hypocrisy. Hypocrisy about the baseball field, hypocrisy about running the meeting, hypocrisy about who gets to speak. It's a clown show. You know, some people say there's 3 Stooges, Mo, Larry, and Curly, but there's a lot more. There's a lot more. There's Shep, there's Curly Joe, there's Joe Besser, and a lot of other people that are out there. I'm not talking to you, sir. I'm not talking to you. So don't yell at me.
That's rude.
Okay. Jason, are you have more to say on this agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to know, where's Lynn Hill? Lynn Hill was the Inspector General on all things related to the baseball field, and hypercritical of it. Where's our controller on this? Shouldn't she be jumping up and down, holding her breath over this like she was before with hysteria?
Right.
Come on.
She showed up at one meeting,
Clowns.
Jason asked her 3 questions. Jason asked her 3 questions, and she's been hiding ever since.
Yeah.
Okay, so
There we
which
go.
way did you go? I lost you.
I'm ready for roll call, I think.
Laura, did you want to say something else?
Well, I'll just point out, there's a big difference between a $3.5 million thing for a ball field versus $99,000. That's a big money gap there, so
So now
it's
about
not
the money. It's
hypocrisy.
about the money now. It's not about who's gonna use it. Before it was about who's gonna use it. Now
Well,
it's about the money. Okay.
there's
one
a
at a
very
time.
small
Keep moving the
population.
goalposts.
Okay, you're talking over
Yeah, be
me.
real quick with it on me. Be real.
Yeah, right.
There you
Only
go.
Boom.
There we go.
Okay, I guess we're ready for the roll call.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Delian,
Yes.
Mr. Kennis,
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Cordero,
I say yes, and I reiterate that we have $100,000 approximately spending on a population from 2 to 5, which would seem relatively appropriate considering what we're looking at here. It's a lot different than $3.5 million that requires more additional maintenance and doesn't even include the cost of Hanover's review. Thank you.
Mr. Carochi.
We have plenty of money for good parks. We got a landfill for the next 25 years. That's gonna give us money under host municipal inspection agreement. So we have plenty of money for parks like this. We should have better parks than we do, but Priscilla's been on council. for 35
Well, the Parks and Rec's too busy chasing invasive species.
Right,
They
planting
can't
trees.
worry about
Stick
parks.
to the topic,
It is parks,
okay?
parks and rec.
I thought we were in time.
Playground equipment.
I think they go parks.
Yeah, I'm trying to run this meeting. Yes, I vote yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next we have Saucon Valley Community Center 2024 Summer Recreational Program Agreement. The agreement for the Saucon Valley Center's 2024 Summer Recreation Program has been prepared for council's review and approval. The program is structured similarly to the previous year. It maintains the nominal fee of $10 for one child and $5 for each additional child. I'm assuming that's in the same family. I guess I'd like to make a motion to approve the execution of the 2024 summer recreational program agreement, not to exceed $34,900.
Well, why don't we put that for each additional child of the same family? Why are we assuming that?
I just caught that now, and
I know,
saw
I'm
it.
glad you caught it, I did not catch it, I give you credit for catching it, I give you credit for catching it, I did not catch that, but I'm saying, why are we adding it?
It might be in the, Kathy's looking.
We can add that.
Now, what, the sum of $34,900, that's an increase over last year?
I believe it is a slight increase only because they're,
Cost.
the cost of hiring.
Right. No,
Hiring staff.
I'm forced on the board. You don't recall off the top of your head, it's all right. But it's more than last year. $34,900.
I don't remember what it was last year.
It's fine, I had a cost cut.
So,
Cost of one.
did you find it in the draft one?
It is noted, in section 14, we can add the language per family.
Okay, so I'll amend my motion to include that
Per
language.
household?
Yeah, he wants to do per household.
Okay.
Because, some kids might have different parents, but live in the same household. So why don't we do $5 for each additional child of the same household?
Okay, so my motion was amended, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, so, Jason?
Yeah, the only question I have, and I'm not suggesting that council should direct the Saucon Valley Community Center how to administer their program, but as I recall last year, there were requests that were made to this council by Donna Lauder specifically, because of Steel City's lack of proximity to where the summer programs take place, the summer recreation program taking place over here at Town Hall Park generally, that it had an effect to not have kids from Steel City there. So I just want to make sure that there's going to be, if we can inquire about programming. Is that accurate?
One of the sites is Steel City.
One of the sites is Steel
I'm
City.
asking for clarification on that.
I believe last year we paid less because the Steel City program wasn't
Up and running.
up and running.
Got it. Okay.
We will try to do more community outreach and maybe speak with Mrs. Lauder to try to get more activity.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that Steel City is, folks in Steel City, regardless of their feelings towards me, some of them, that they are going to have the summer recreation program.
Well, it's a long way for them to drive to Township
Tom?
Hall. So, yeah, it's a long way for them to drive to Township Hall. But was it every week? I thought there were only certain weeks it was a Steel City.
No,
The program runs the same for
Okay.
each park.
Both parts, okay.
simultaneously.
There's three
Right.
parks listed.
Right.
Town Hall, Southeastern, and Steel
That's
City.
right. Okay. But they didn't have the Steel City up and running last.
Last year, I believe the enrollment wasn't there.
Okay. Okay, so they didn't have the participation.
So the children that did enroll were asked to go to Southeastern.
Okay,
Are you finished, Tom?
yes.
I support the program. Victoria?
I think it's a wonderful program.
Laura?
Yeah, I'm in support of the program as well.
Okay, so after council discussion, public comment, anyone else would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, may we have a roll call, please?
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis,
Yes.
Ms. Octoth Cordero,
Yes.
Mr. Carucci,
Yes.
Ms. Rag.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
I thank you, Kathy. Next, we have the approval of the March 6, 2024 council minutes. They're ready for council's review. I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a point of clarification here. I don't understand this. On page 31 of 60, starts on line 15 to 14, says, they're talking about Kathy McGovern, and she says, again, she will remind you that we have family members on this board, and that Ms. Pitchell McGovern said there's one right here, Lawrence Saucon Township Council. Jennifer Zavacki and Mark Ingalls. Mr. Burnett said, are Mr. Bananas said, are these his families, what is she talking about? I mean, you can't even understand the transcript about family members. And Ms. Pitchell-McGovern said yes, that they were. So is there a clarification of whether Jason is a family member with Mr. Ingles? And then
I can answer that question. I'm not a family member with Mr. Ingles.
And did you take a DNA test? There was a
But
DNA
I
test.
offered many times to do that, Tom. I
I
think
mean,
it would be appropriate to clarify this. This is apparently of importance to the residents of the township.
If
And I
Ms.
think it would be,
Yeah.
if we could do it on Mark Povich or a show like that where, you know,
If
I'm
Ms.
not.
Pitchell-McGovern, I mean, I obviously think from the resemblance, Mr. Ozemic and Priscilla are brother and sister, it's obvious, I don't need DNA. I mean, I'd like to see the power lines,
Stick with
I'd like
the
to see the
topic.
power lines they grew up, next to,
topic.
but, they're like, you see their personalities, they emotionally interrupt and emotionally mature, but, so I don't, is that clear though, Jason, is that
It's
what
not,
happened?
Tom, it's not. In fact, the concern that I have is on line 16, it says, as if I stated this.
Right.
Mr. Benonis said they are his family. What is she talking about?
Right.
Comma, family members, period.
Right.
I never said they are my family. I questioned the allegation, the baseless, absurd allegation that they are my family. So at that point, I think the minutes need to be amended to reflect a question mark after that sentence, and certainly that I'm not stating anything there that they are my family, but to the contrary, I'm questioning the basis for her preposterous comment. She's no longer here. She left the meeting. I guess maybe she knew we were going to bring this up, and maybe it's embarrassing to her to be called out for such an absurd thing. But I think I would ask if these minutes are going to be a motion to approve them, that it be amended to reflect, at least at a minimum, a question mark after that sentence that I talked about, because I clearly did not acknowledge that they were family members. They're not.
And Ms.
So,
McGovern is completely.
I'm not comfortable with amending anything unless they are reviewing the tape, because we do have YouTube, and I think anybody who wants to amend the minutes can compare the typed up minutes to whatever's on YouTube, and if they need to be amended, that would be fine. If they don't need to be amended because it was stated, then that's what it is, so that's what I'm comfortable with.
Why can't we just ask?
Just so that I'm clear, I'd like a point of clarification for Victoria. She was here, I think. I think she listens, maybe not. But she's suggesting that somehow this council should validate what she knows is a blatant misstatement by Ms. Pitchell-McGovern. Is that what you're saying? I'm trying to understand.
First, you're saying what you think that I know.
I'm asking you a question.
And what you're stating is what you think that what I know, and I don't think that you're able to say what I know and what I don't know, or what is true and what isn't true from my perspective. That's my perspective. I've stated that if you wanna make an amendment to our minutes, the way to do it is to have them compare to what's ever on YouTube, because it's in there on YouTube World for everybody to see, for all time, and it's easily done in an objective way that doesn't include additional language or misstatements, which sometimes happen.
All we're asking is for the transcriptionist to listen again and see, one, if all that is accurate, and if it is, fine, and then if that question mark, instead of a period there, I'd like to see that as well.
You're saying you agree that we should do it via whatever's on YouTube.
If I get clarification,
I think she should go back to, does she use YouTube or does she use the audio?
I don't know what she uses, but
Well, that's
I
what-
think,
how
I
could you
think
say
she
it
should use
online?
the YouTube, because that's not what his motion was, nothing to do with YouTube. I
Right.
said they should compare it to YouTube, and we're talking.
I'm saying, you don't even know what she uses. I'm saying if she uses the audio, she can go back and listen to it.
Yeah, exactly.
There may be mistakes, but that's not YouTube, that's the audio.
What are you talking about?
Whoever's doing the transcription.
Oh, okay, you didn't say that, I didn't know who she was.
Well, who is our transcriptionist? I don't know.
I have no idea,
Is it a he?
I don't know.
Who?
Ms.
Oh,
Powell.
Diane's still there. Oh, yeah, that's right, I forgot.
So
Diane's-
we'll have Diane re-listen to that section.
Right.
And let us know what it is, so that we can have it on the next agenda.
Yes.
And
So I'd make a motion to table the minutes.
So I'm trying to understand what your motion was, Tom, if I may.
I'll second it.
Okay, if I may speak. So you're asking to have township staff take their valuable time when we are without a township manager. Oh, no, hold on, let me just get out. Without a township manager, We have an interim, assistant, and an interim manager serving, who also has all these other responsibilities. She's now been tasked with being secretary and everything else. And all it would take would be for Victoria to simply say, yeah, I agree, to put a question mark in there.
Yeah.
But instead, she wants to waste the township staff's already limited resources when they're spread thin.
I think it's your waste.
I'm speaking now. I'm speaking. I prefer if you to be quiet. I know it's hard for you. I don't know if it's a condition that you have or whatever, but, I don't know what's going on over there. But let me just get my statement out. You'd prefer to have township staff waste their time in what clearly is understood as being not a affirmative statement.
What I prefer is that the minutes reflect what actually
Am I
was said,
speaking?
not what
Am I
you think they
speaking?
said or what I
Am
think
I
they said.
speaking?
All right, guys, come on, let's behave up here, please.
I'm not interrupting, she is. She's rocking away over there. I don't know what's going
I
on.
mean, I think at a minimum, there needs to be a question mark there, and I would agree with the motion for that. It's obviously a question for Mr. Bananas, and why is it curious? It's not.
So
But
your
if you
motion-
want to table it.
The motion was to table.
No, it wasn't, he made the motion.
No, you made the initial motion. I'm trying to understand your initial motion, and I'm seconding your motion.
Wait, you made the motion to table, Victoria second, because you wanted to go back and re-listen to that second.
No, your
No, I want
motion was
Diane to go back.
Your motion was to change it right now, wasn't
Whoever
it?
did the minutes.
There's obviously supposed to be a question mark there. You can either change it right now or a question mark.
Was to make, and he made a motion.
Question mark.
No, you couldn't do that, motion on the floor.
It doesn't matter, because I would love to, it doesn't matter. We'll table it, because I'd love to get into this again.
Yeah.
We'll table it, we'll get into it again next meeting.
Let's do it.
You know
Let's
what,
table
I
it.
started making a motion and then I was interrupted.
By Victoria,
No,
right?
no, no.
How can I interrupt you? You're running this meeting.
So right now,
Let me count the ways.
I thought you said I wasn't.
motion on the table is
Figure out what table.
Is to table.
okay, and it's been seconded.
Okay, and it's been seconded. Is there any other council discussion before I open it up to the audience? Anybody in the audience like to speak? Go ahead, just don't keep shaking your head.
Gee, folks, I mean, that's really, I sit here and I watch and I listen and I really wonder. I mean, it's crystal clear what was said. And if you actually read the minutes, how many, I would love to know how many on the council literally read the minutes.
I read the minutes.
Did you catch that?
I read it as it was. I didn't make the comment, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's absolutely, it just sticks out like a sore thumb. And to sit there and debate this when it's very simple. Now, my understanding is that one of our council members, aside from the two males here, is an attorney and should be able to glide over that thing and get it in a heartbeat. And yet we sit here for 10, 15 minutes and discuss whether there's a question mark or not. And should somebody listen to this again simply to correct it or not to correct it, and we waste all this time. So that's really goofy. It's no wonder Dave Boulan has to sit there and read all this stuff, because half the time the comments that are getting made by certain people, it's clear they didn't read the material. It's really sad. Anyhow, I encourage you to read the material. No, sir, I was saying that includes the attorney also, solicitor.
So cool.
Okay, anybody else like to come up to the podium? If not, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Benonis,
Yes.
Ms. Alton Cordero,
Yes.
Mr. Carucci,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes.
passes 5-0.
Okay, next we have council and staff reports. Assistant, nope, gotta change that. You are now acting.
The only item I have to report is that Reading Drive construction is in process. UGI was out there last week and beginning of this week to finish up their work. And the road will be posted, and the residents have been notified that the work will be started to put in the culvert. And we're hoping that everything will be done by the end of April. And anybody who is driving around, please be careful of our Public Works Department employees out there working. Thank you.
Okay, Jason?
Yes, thank you. I would like to bring to the public's attention, particularly those who would stand up, red-faced, hysterical, waving their hands in the air about the time limit that this council had, and also the requirement that this council had for residents and taxpayers only to be permitted to speak as to both agenda and non-agenda items. There were many of you who constantly criticized that issue, and I would just direct your attention most recently to the pending changes in the city of Bethlehem as well as the city of Easton. In the city of Bethlehem, you may have seen in the news that a pro-Hamas group of individuals attended a city council meeting and kept the council members there for 4 or 5 hours, and the council was unable to conduct township business. And as a result of that, in reaction to it, City of Bethlehem Council is now considering, and may have already passed, I don't know, a requirement that residents and taxpayers, you must be a resident taxpayer to speak at a City of Bethlehem Council meeting. The City of Easton is considering the same thing, I believe. So I don't hear where the outcry is over that. I don't hear where that outcry is. I know Victoria, many times they've criticized that. I'm wondering where's the problem in that? I wonder if Joe Buba is going on behalf of St. Luke's and with the authority of Rick Anderson to those cities and, standing up and demanding to speak, although perhaps there are property owners there, but I guess they don't pay taxes, do they?
No.
Taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I just find that to be interesting, that, I guess, this council was cutting edge in the way we conducted meetings, and unfortunately, that rule was taken away, and there's people that complain about the length of these meetings, and I think in part, some of the people that come to our meetings and decide to speak up may not be residents and taxpayers of the township, and it's costing us money because of that. So, just an interesting observation to see how it's okay over there, but it's not okay over here. The other thing I would like to revisit was going back to my comments at the last meeting about having the evidence of a knowingly inaccurate budget, the knowledge that these individuals, that Priscilla, Victoria, and Laura knew about. Excuse me? Who's using Laura's name in vain out there?
Who's what?
Somebody's saying,
I don't hear anything.
I heard something.
I did.
I heard out there. I heard over there, towards Miss Witch.
I was cursing out there.
Yeah, so.
Inappropriate, rude.
So, what I brought up at that time, and this was, I was talking about the Hillary Clinton server in the closet, not a township server. So, on February 17th, 2024, Dave Willard, a former council member who was not reelected a while ago, sent to the 3 personal email addresses of Victoria Optoff, Cordero, Laura Ray, and Priscilla De Leon emails, and he deliberately sent those. He understands the requirements, I presume he understands the requirements of open records and sunshine, and he sent those 3 to their personal email addresses, quote, rather than your Lower Saucon Township emails, because I want to keep this message private. And he was recommending a spreadsheet showing taxes. He acknowledged that I, Jason Bononis, was correct to state that the budget was off by $620,000, and he concluded that with, quote, free advice from your informal, unpaid advisor, end quote. So they were getting free advice from a self-proclaimed advisor who was not only unelected, but also was expressly rejected by the township voters, having lost his election.
Point of clarification, he was a donor also. Him and his wife were donors to their campaign.
That's a very good point, Tom. And in fact, I believe the finance records show that that the Willards had donated over $1,000 to the campaign for these 3. And I believe that he also held an event at his home for them. I'm not positive of that. But, here it is. He's admitting and deliberately sending this to them in secret to circumvent the open records. And I pointed out at that meeting that only Victoria and Laura were the ones that came forward with that email, despite it being written to all 3. And I'm not giving any credence to Victoria and Laura for being above board in that. Perhaps they just didn't have an opportunity to talk among themselves as to what they were turning over, not turning over. But I don't know that. I'm just speculating. But when I brought that up, I pointed out the fact that Priscilla did not turn over that email, and she said, I did. I said, I don't remember seeing it. And of course, I was proven right. And she sends an email to, this is on on March 25th, 2024, to Carol Schneider here in the township offices. And she also copied Steve Gutsuzian on it, I believe, Stephen at smg-law.com, and also herself at some Priscilla DeLeon email. But she blacked out the email address that it came from, and it says the following. It was alleged at the March 2024 Township Council meeting that the right to know requester, Jason Benonis, did not receive a copy of an email from Dave Willard to me. I believe that I provided all the requested information for right to know requests 1820, 1831, and 1832 and forwarded them to Carol Schneider at the Township. After the March 2024 blank, I searched again and found that this email was in my, quote, draft folder and was not sent. I am sending now. See below, Priscilla. And she did, in fact, forward that email that I had pointed out she failed to forward to us. But raises a couple points for me. One is, it's not until Priscilla is confronted with written information that proves her to be unscrupulous in what she is doing. For example, if it was not for the right to know request with regard to the cell phone tower in Steel City, we would not have known of the prior matter 20 years ago where she recused herself. And it wasn't until she was embarrassed into recusing herself from those proceedings so that at least she could maintain some air of credibility by being consistent in the way that she conducted herself in participating or not participating in that vote. And then we have the example here of the email that she didn't produce to us, to me, in response to the right to know request, in response to Pennsylvania law, in violation of Pennsylvania law, I would suggest, that she did not produce this until she was embarrassed and confronted with it, and perhaps she didn't want us to know about the secret counseling that she was getting from her campaign donor, Dave Willard, behind the scenes and in violation of, or at least seemingly designed to circumvent the opportunity to be found and disclosed in response to a right to know request. So that's what we're dealing with here, folks. We're dealing with that. And who knows what else is being hidden on the secret server in the bedroom closet. But more right to know requests will come. We'll see what they turn over. And if there's going to be a pattern of suppressing and hiding information, I don't think that's going to look very good. If and when an appeal is needed to be taken to the Office of Open Records or even the Court of Common Pleas or beyond. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. I recognize myself.
Yes, I said thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I recognize myself. You might want to, we might actually get out of here by 9:15, so thank you. You're welcome for running your meeting.
Thanks,
so today, I get us out of here by 9:15. She runs an inefficient meeting. When I run the meeting, we get out of here by 9:15. All right. Again, our solicitor will speak, I guess, after us, and again, will not tell us who he met with at Hellertown regarding anything, just who he met with. I urge people in the public to stand up and ask him what he's hiding and why he's hiding it. And again, it gives credence to the right to know. Why we have to do the right to knows is because the current majority of council and our solicitor are hiding things that the public should know, or at least elected members of the council should know. Other than that, I don't need a DNA test from Ms. DeLeon or Mr. Ozemic to show their brothers and sisters, but I again would like a picture of the power lines they grew up next to. I need that explanation. So if I can get that for the next meeting, that would be great. And I think a picture of the power lines you grew up next to. And that's all I have.
Where did you get that power lines I grew up next to?
Yeah. Yep, Rosetta, right?
Just a red comment, that's all.
It's just a store. I guess Victoria?
Thank you. First and foremost, I wanted to highlight something that I saw in the news. I think it was Lehigh Valley News or whatever you want to call, but they discussed and they were comparing the train derailment to a grant that was allocated to the Allentown Fire Department for firefighting foam and other safety apparatus. And so they were at least the news was insinuating that perhaps Allentown received the money because of the train derailment. But they did clarify that the request for the grant money this is from Norfolk Southern, was made before the train derailment. So it just got me thinking, and I think it would be appropriate if we direct our township to perhaps send a letter to Norfolk Southern indicating the amount of resources that the Lower Saucon Township volunteer fire department. Allentown has a paid fire force. We have volunteers that put their lives at risk. Certainly in this situation with Norfolk Southern, they arrived on a scene not knowing whether there were any hazardous chemicals, hazardous waste, and what type of safety and danger they would put themselves into in trying to rescue people from that scene. Thank goodness there were no hazardous chemicals, but certainly the people responding didn't know that when they went and put their lives at risk as volunteers. So I would like to direct our township to send a letter to Norfolk Southern, providing them with information on Lower Saucon Fire Rescue. They can coordinate that with Ty Johnson and other members of our Lower Saucon Fire Rescue about the information for our response to that incident. But I think Norfolk Southern should realize that in this particular instance, it was volunteers that were the first responders here, first and foremost. And any amount of money that Norfolk Southern can provide our volunteer force in helping to keep Lower Saucon residents safe would be greatly appreciated.
Laura? Sort of problems down here. No, I don't. Thank you. No, I think that's a great idea, though, to prepare a letter to Norfolk Southern, perhaps requesting some sort of donation to our fire department, our volunteers. I think that's great. I read that same article too, but I did catch where it said the grant was requested afterwards. I also read another article where Norfolk Southern, the way it was stated, they only had $2.5 million of damage, but it had the word "only" there. So I don't know if a reporter just snuck that in or if that was really what they said, but it's like, wow, okay, well, it's only $2.5 million. Maybe we can get a donation for our volunteers.
The previous, Mr. Hudson did send a letter to Norfolk about the municipal expenses, and they did pay what we had expended, which was minimal. Which was minimal. However, I'll reach out to Chief Johnson to see if they had communicated with Norfolk to see if they had sent a letter to them requesting.
Yeah, no, I'm not specifically requesting. First, it's appropriate that they pay for expenses that were actually incurred. So I don't know whether the fire department has actually calculated the gas that they expended for the trucks to get there, the maintenance costs, whatever wear and tear on the trucks to be there, the guys, all that stuff, the food and stuff, whatever that is. What I'm saying, Norfolk Southern should be aware that these were volunteers and that they expended their time to come out and put their lives at risk to help Norfolk Southern and the community. And I think Norfolk Southern should consider providing those volunteer firemen, firewomen, and our volunteer fire company some compensation donation to our fire force to continue keeping our community safe.
But you won't ask St. Luke's for a donation. We respond to Fountain Hill 87 times over the past 3 years, but because they're joining your parents in a lawsuit against the landfill, you won't call on St. Luke's to make that same donation.
And they donated to their campaign.
Yep, they donated to your
At
campaign
least
too.
the president did.
ED Durant.
Ed Rocky.
Yeah. ED.
They already donated.
Right, they already donated, but you won't call on St. Luke's to make that donation because your parents never in a lawsuit, or were in a lawsuit, your parents were in a lawsuit. And 87 times we go to St. Luke's, according to our police, or our fire.
Okay, I guess we're finished with reports.
You're in the pot.
I called on Laura, right?
Yeah.
Solicitor report,
Solicitor report?
engineer's not here. Public comment, non-agenda items, 5 minutes time limit. Please take the podium.
Thank you. My name is Mary Ann Garber and I represent the Bethlehem landfill. At the last council meeting, Jaramillo Zamora, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, presented his Eagle Scout project to council. He's proposing to build a Gaga pit and 2 benches at Hope Valley Park, and he came and asked council to contribute financially to that effort, and it estimated the cost of the materials to be $1,500. It sounds like a fantastic project. I went back and spoke with Astor Lawson, who's the district manager for the landfill, and Astor asked me to come here tonight to tell council that the landfill would like to donate that $1,500 directly to Jamarilla for his project. And I know that the estimate for the materials was just that, it was an estimate. So we'd be happy to consider any additional costs for the materials that he proposed for that project.
That's very nice of you, thank you so much. And then this would be like a donation in your quarterly reports as what you do for the harms benefit analysis?
No, it wouldn't, because that's not something that we put down as a benefit in our harms benefit analysis. That was already
So that
conducted.
wouldn't show up with your other grants and scholarships and stuff like that as a donation?
The benefits that are associated with the landfill expansion are the benefits that are tied to the expansion.
Right.
We're making a donation to an Eagle Scout for the materials for his project, and we're happy to do that. It sounds like a fantastic project.
This is above and beyond the other donations.
Correct. One has nothing to do with
You
the
have
other.
you have to spoon feed it to us.
I'm sorry, so you will or will not be listing this donation on your DEP report for benefits to the community?
So without belaboring the point, when we go through an expansion, we present benefits that are associated with the expansion. This has nothing to do with our expansion. This is
So
something
you won't be listing it then as, financial donation?
No, because it has nothing to do with the expansion. I think I've answered that 3 times now.
Yeah,
No, it's
this one-
completely independent.
Sure, because that's not exactly.
Saucon should be recusing herself from all landfill related subjects. Her parents were in a lawsuit against.
I've seen documents that every quarter you give scholarships and you give bicycles and you do a lot of things for communities, and that's all appreciative.
Just to be clear, this has nothing to do with the expansion, nor does it have anything to do with the harms benefit analysis. We're making a contribution to an individual person as an Eagle Scout because we think it's a great project.
May I make a suggestion?
Would you like
Rather
to
than,
donate to the ball
rather than
field?
deal with the fools here, contact the Eagle Scout himself directly and just tell him that you're gonna give him the money, because clearly it's lost on the people that are here.
We'd be happy to do
You've said
that.
4 times how it's being treated, that you're just making a donation, a benevolent donation to help out this Eagle Scout and to also help provide an added resource in one of our parks. They don't understand this, so they waste your time and breath.
And Ms. Optoff has a clear conflict. Her parents own property out there and they're part of a lawsuit. She shouldn't be speaking at all. Clear conflict.
Just for the record, I would agree with that, but we're not asking council to take any action, which is why I'm not raising any kind of conflict issue. I'm happy to coordinate with Kathy if you want to communicate with Jamarillo and let him know that we're happy to make that direct donation. I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
I may not say it, but I appreciate the kindness and the generosity here, and I think many in the public do as well, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else in the audience?
Dave first. Dave first.
No.
Dave, go first. Go first. Go. I won't.
Really?
I want to hear what you have to say.
No.
Very, very important.
First of all, I think that's wonderful. I don't know how somebody could misconstrue that at all for, I have to agree. I don't know, maybe laboratories does something to you when you really, really work with super smart people. If you don't catch up, you're long gone. Bottom line is, I have a couple of questions here. I remember hearing that the EAC was gonna look into this clear cutting problem, where they stripped half of the side of the hill, and it was supposedly, well, PA's law, and we couldn't do anything. Gee, that's funny, because I looked into our statutes, okay, here at Lower Saucon, and there's a whole raft of things that you must follow. And I was gonna get some kind of report, and it was a little early on, and EAC was redoing itself, but I believe Laura Ray was gonna come back with those kinds of answers. what they did, what they found, who went out there. And actually, I think one of the people who showed all of the clear cutting is now a member of the EAC. I haven't heard a peep about that. Somehow denuding on the whole side of the hill, having all that stuff run down into the Lehigh, famous Lehigh. By the way, did anybody notice how much rain we got? Hey, it must have been a big release today from our sewage friends. Of course, that doesn't do anything to help the river. Neither here nor there, but that's not on the agenda. Here's what should have been on the agenda, and that's how. And I did hear something said about how, and by the way, I'm still hot about how, because I go back and I look at the ruling by the judge who said Hal has to turn over all of those records, or they're going to be found in contempt, which then he turned around and ruled they were in contempt, okay? Can't find it here. All right, here it is here. By gosh, and because nobody seems to listen to this stuff, this is order of the court, 11th day of October 2023. The judge is a fellow by the name of, maybe you guys know him, because you're all legal, right? Probably practice in front of him. His name is Dally.
He's the president judge. The president judge.
So here we go. Conclusion on the last page. For the foregoing reasons, the appeal is granted and the library is required to provide all responsive records within 30 days. And what do we have? We have a council here that as soon as the solicitor gets appointed, this whole thing gets swept out just like the sewage out of the plant. I don't know who wrote those exemptions for the solicitor so that he would not have to say, yeah, I was involved in whatever, but this is what happens when that goes down. And even the dumb mathematician physicist like me gets it, okay? You win the election and you can do whatever you want. I don't go for that. And I will be seeing Judge Daly. I am now getting into Northampton more often. I was there yesterday, I was there today. Yeah, I'll be talking to him, I'll find a way, okay? I want to know where that's going. And I want to know how we can make those rulings, and yet we are still going to spend a minimum of $150,000 and get nothing. I want to know from Victoria how the negotiations are going, okay? Because you said you were going to be handling the negotiations. So that's that. Now, the other thing, I only have a minute left here, so let's see here. So that's how. Easton, yeah, I heard Sal Panto, he doesn't know anything. He's only been there 17 years. He says he's never seen anything like it. And yet this council, some of the council, voted to, hey, open it up to anybody that wants to come along. So guess what? When the group shows up from Hamas demanding that we write a letter to Israel and does that for 4 or 5 hours, you guys will have a leg to stand on because of this ruling of this council. And Pano was very exact about, I only want business in this town to be discussed here, and that was not. Finally, I'm not going to say a lot more about it, but I will say, getting back to this 31/2024, there were exactly the last speaker at this dais here violated at least 8 times the laws of this agreement, 8 different ones. That includes walking around, showing each person his phone. That was a verboten.
Wrap it up, please. Can you wrap it up? Your time's up, almost up.
Well, it wasn't when I listened to you, okay? Can I finish?
Yes, I said wrap it up.
That's part of promote an atmosphere of reasonable expression of ideas. These are ideas, and they're reasonable, right? And what I'm saying is, you, Priscilla de Leon, Mrs. Chairman, Ms. Chairman, have the right and the authority to gavel this kind of nonsense down. So person walks around with a phone, showing everybody all this thing. Nobody in the public can hear what's going on, right? That's what it is. Then he does it again with this something he's got, and I hear a hole in it. And then he gets up and rants and raves for another 7 minutes look at your clock, it's on the clock, the very end, and starts yelling and screaming at Jason Benones and Tom Carell, yelling and screaming at the top of his voice, not controlled like I am now. Right. By the way, and if you think that's not a problem and it doesn't foment madness in people, when I walked out of here, I walked out and gee, lo and behold, there's two figures. One's a council person walking down the side, and there's another person following him with a policeman right behind him. Okay? There's a problem. You have been put, as this person said last time, on notice, okay? There are dangerous situations going on and you need to pay attention to them.
Okay, thank you.
I agree, some people just don't know how to behave.
Andrea Witchy. You should stick around, Jason, this is the, you know, Janus was the actual two-headed Roman god. Two-faced Roman god. This has to do with your life.
You two might want to stick around, I'll be discussing you.
Janus is not a swear word. If you had 4 years of Latin like I did, you would know what it meant.
Discussing it.
All right, first of all, 40 minutes were wasted in this meeting tonight. At $9 an hour, that's $360 that we'll be adding to the total for the last 3 meetings. And secondly, it was not a group that was protesting on behalf of Hamas in Bethlehem. They were protesting on behalf of the Palestinian people. There is a difference. Some people don't know that and don't understand it. And third, it's getting really tedious to have to correct Benonis's math, but 4.9% of 11,000 people in this township comes out who are under the age of 5 or between 2 and 5, divided into the roughly $100,000 that we have set aside for the tot lot, comes to a cost of $186 per user. The baseball field, rounded down to $3 million, and divided by the 600 users that the baseball management people told us were the actual people who would be using that diamond, comes out to an average of $5,000 per user as far as the cost is concerned. $186 for a bunch of 5-year-olds is a far different number than $5,000 per user for the baseball field. We already know that Mr. Benonis obviously skipped the economics part of his law training, so I just wanted to make that clear, and I wanted it on the record because what he was saying was actually incorrect and deliberately misleading.
Thank you.
Mark Ozemek, I'm not really sure if I should do this. I'm probably gonna. You know me, don't shut up. The last meeting, when it was over, Nonis and Karochi left, and they walked out together. So there were 2 people walking out in the parking lot. When they left, I decided to follow them out the parking lot. I decided, I hope you're listening, public, I decided to follow them out the parking lot because I don't trust either one of them. There's more than once I worried about my truck out there and having to drive home. Guess maybe I knew too many bad people in my life. But as for somebody saying that I was outside in the parking lot and I was acting up and the police officer had to calm me down, I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure it's on body cam. I'm pretty sure it's on the building camera, which I didn't go for yet, but I probably should before it overlaps itself. Where you going, Dave? You know, you want to start with this?
Mark, you can't speak to the audience.
Thank you.
please.
Have a good day.
You're not
You do.
supposed to speak to him either. You're not supposed to speak to the audience either.
He's not the audience, he's a speaker.
The speaker, excuse me, I used the wrong
I
word.
shouldn't speak to you, but I do. Okay? I try to be civil.
What happened to rules? I thought you liked the rules.
All right, why don't we just continue?
So anyway, like I said, when the new people on council were running, don't ever lie. Don't ever lie to me. I'm gonna lie to each other, that's fine. I'm gonna lie to your coworkers, do whatever you wanna do. But don't ever lie to me. Here's another thing, don't ever lie about me. And part of the other reason that I walked out into the parking lot is the same reason I'm gonna tell him, because he was there last week. And it's on body cam. So, the reason I walked out is because some of the township paperwork has a place in there for you to fill in the suspect, criminal activist, whatever you want to call them, when you file charges against somebody, has a place on there for a description of their vehicle and a license plate number. Particularly what I went out for. If you're interested. Because my mission for him lying to me is to put him in jail. Benonis committed a felony, a misdemeanor, testifying under oath and signing the paper with Chief Arm. Do I got anything recorded or on video? No, could be my word against
Would
theirs.
be saying this publicly.
But, hey, I said it on Facebook, I said it here. And as far as his wife and kids on my Facebook page, no, they're not on my profile. But I did share a picture of them because she has it on hers and it is public information. And what I put on there was the fact that, does anybody know this woman? Because somebody should inform her that she should come talk to me about what her husband is doing to me.
All right, Mark, I don't think this is appropriate for you.
Yeah, I know, I'm too personal. But I don't pull people.
Thank you.
One quick comment. Bob McCallum, Lower Saucon Township resident. I've been on a lot of committees and groups and meetings, and when we have minutes, the minutes are recorded as what people said, not if there's truth or false. As far as mathematics go in the past, there's been a lot of untruths. Whatever is said in the meeting, even, some of the stuff that was said tonight about power lines and derogatory things, are all gonna be in the minutes, but minutes are the minutes. And just because somebody says something wrong doesn't mean it has to be amended. That's all I guess.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Joanne Kramer. I've lived in Lower Saucon Township for over 30 years. I have never come to the township meetings until this last year. And I want to tell you that I'm very disappointed in the behavior of the two who have since left. There's a code of conduct that we've put together for us as people in the audience, but there doesn't seem to be a code of conduct for those on the council, specifically the two that have left. I don't know where that goes or how that changes, but I worked my whole career in a corporation that kind of behavior was not allowed in any meeting or to any employee. So I just want to say, I'm very disgusted at their behavior. And I've been making a point to come to these meetings, but I really would like to go back to not having to come. But it's unfortunate that it's come to this. So hopefully in the next election, we have the opportunity to change the last two that are on this council. Because we really do need people who are going to work together. And I take it, I don't know you, Kathy, but you have a lot of things that have been put on your shoulders based on my attendance here at these meetings. But that shows that she's willing to work towards the best for this township. I don't get the feeling that the other two are willing to do that. And it's a very bad situation when we have students who are seeing behavior that doesn't show any respect to anyone else speaking at these meetings. The name calling, I didn't even know who Susie was when he was speaking, but I assume that was directed towards the attorney. I don't know. But those names, the name calling is ridiculous. So, never come to meetings till this last year. I've never spoken at a meeting, but based on what I've seen in the last 6 or 8 meetings that I've been to, very disappointing. They need to grow up.
Thank you. I'd like the record to reflect that 9:05, Mr. Bononis and Mr. Carochi left the meeting. And with that, I want to make one comment before we adjourn, and I would like to apologize to our residents for the blatant disrespect of our residents and disregard of the code of conduct passed by this council. Gabbling does not help, and you know, it's a mockery. So, we're here, we're trying to do our best, and we appreciate your confidence in us, and
Yes, well, the code does apply to all of us as well, they just do not follow rules, and they're elected officials, so in their mind, that means they can do anything in any way they want, and it's so inappropriate and unprofessional.
and our junior council members, this is not a
Dysfunctional
democracy.
democracy.
Really, okay? Because I ran many meetings, and I never had to deal with this. And so just remember that, what you see, you're not gonna do.
It's 170 days until the next election.
Right, so with that, I'd like a motion for an adjournment.
Make a motion.
I'll second that, and I'll just add to what you said before. I think it's important for the public to see that despite the attempts to delay our meetings, to bring them to 2 o'clock in the morning, to interrupt and to prevent people from moving business forward, that at least the majority of council is sitting here and we are getting our business done, and we are working for the residents. I thank you all for your support and continued support, and we'll continue to work for you.
Keep on keeping on, girls.
And I do second the motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.